This summer is it's terrible. It's terrible, man.
Yeah?
I hate this summer so much. But you know what? One thing you can rely on during the summertime to keep
the fact that you're going to try to keep me from having that podcast hat trick. You son of a bitch.
I'm pod blocking you. Oh,
pod blocking left and right.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Rage Select podcast right here on Rage Select. I am Jim.
I'm John.
You know what? It's not that I'm trying to keep you from having 3 in a row. It's that I'm trying not to force you to do 3 in a row.
Sure, keep telling yourself that.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So, before we get started here, I gotta say, I'd like to do a little quick internet bitching here, John.
Ooh, internet bitching.
It's some personal.
It's like so new and fanciful. Like we've never done that before.
We're gonna create a brand new thing where I talk about all the things that I don't like on the internet. It's gonna be brand new.
Is it called the Rage Select podcast?
I think it's gonna catch on. I think it's a thing that people are gonna like. No. So you know how people, you've been around, you've heard where people are just like, oh, fuck 2016. God, I hate 2016. 2016 sucks, right?
Yeah, I've heard it.
But, usually when people say that, it's because, Prince died, right? They're just like, 2016
and
is
David
the worst.
Bowie.
And David Bowie, those sorts of things happen. They don't really affect me as much as I feel like they affect a lot of people. But this summer, the last 3 months have just been the worst summertime I've ever had in my entire goddamn life. I think, maybe. Because my car has been destroyed and rebuilt from scratch. My air conditioning has been destroyed and rebuilt from scratch. My skin has been destroyed with ringworm and rebuilt from scratch. And I thought at the beginning of September, I'm like, I've got all this under control. I paid a big vet bill. I've got the shampoos. My car is working. My AC is running. You know what I'm doing this weekend, John?
What are you doing this weekend?
Spending $5,000 getting my entire AC system ripped out of my house and put in a new one. Just Jesus. I mean, come on.
Hey, I totally understand. I had a large expenditure this past weekend that I was not expecting, that it was really sad.
Yeah.
I took, we were looking at our car and we're like, oh, hey, one of the tires is kind of messed up. We probably need to stop driving on it. We need to go take it in and have it replaced. I was like, and you know what? I do remember the last time I was in, they said that the other front side tire needed to be replaced too.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll go replace one, maybe both. If it's not too expensive. Get there, I had to replace 3. They were like, yeah, no, we have to replace 3. Like, we're not going to put, they took tires off to rotate them, and they're like, we're not putting this tire back on your car.
That's just where you call your lawyer, man. You just start to
when they show you why, which is because apparently you could see the steel threading on the inside of the tire.
You still got another 2 months on that, man.
I'm not chancing that. So I had to shell out a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
That I was not prepared to shell out.
The thing is that it's just been, you're okay. So
the part that sucked about it was I got paid on Friday.
Oh, and then you were just broke on Saturday?
And then by Sunday, I had $2 in my bank account.
It's that thing where when you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're working, and it's like then a big thing happens, and you're like, fuck, I got to buy new tires, or my dog got
Feels
sick,
like a big thing happens every time I get a paycheck.
Whatever. Yeah, for me, for the last 3 months, it's just been like thing, and I'm sick of it. I'm really hoping that when the fall comes, that we could just stop for a little bit, because I could really deal with a boring-ass month where nothing requires a huge financial investment out of my pocket.
Well, too bad, because video games are coming out next month.
Well, that's Rage Select expenditure. That's not. Dude, let's not even get into the fact that I haven't paid any taxes for the website this year. We're gonna have some kind of the Thanksgiving fundraiser around here, or I don't even know. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. But you know what? Enough.
But my thing is that at the beginning of the summer, I wasn't having a bad time. I was actually having a pretty good summer.
Oh yeah. I had a great
And then the Jeff rubbed off on me, and now I have giant expenditures and, whatever.
Yeah.
I just need to get the stink of Jeff off of me.
Skin diseases? Do you have any skin?
No, I don't have any skin diseases.
I got a shampoo that'll probably get the stink off of you.
God damn.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? Enough about that. I've been trying to think if there was anything that I did over the last week that was interesting to talk about. I think the only thing that I did was I I went ahead and gave Crunchyroll some bucks, and I started watching.
It's a good expenditure, I think.
I started watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh yeah, no, I don't watch that. I watched like 12 other shows on Crunchyroll, but yeah,
okay, so I know that people have been trying to get me to watch this for a long time.
Like 3 people.
Well, like 3 people have been trying real hard. But let it never be said the smallest number of people on this website can't make me feel bad enough to go do some shit. But I'll be honest.
Shit, Amanda can make you feel bad enough to go.
I've known Amanda for 5 years now. It's fine. She got enough on me. But you know, when we played the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure game, I was like, you know what? This is my kind of weird ass anime. I wonder, you know, let's go check it out. So you know, I pulled it up on Crunchyroll. I started watching. I got through 3 episodes before I was like, fuck these ads. $6 a month, whatever.
It's not much.
I'm spending $5K on my air conditioning. I could spend $6 on.
Yeah, no, it's totally a decent price.
So I got it and I started watching it, and I don't know. It's a bizarre show. They're not lying.
No.
It's real strange, and I don't know if I'm hooked. See, I think that the thing is that I don't know if I'm watching it in the wrong order, or I don't know if they like have reordered the series so like the second series that's a prequel is before the first series or whatever, but it starts like in the 1800s or something like that.
I don't know.
And it's real strange. Like they're setting up all of the different relationships, and it's very much more story centric. And I started thinking about it in terms of One Punch Man.
Yeah.
And how One Punch Man doesn't feel the need to explain. It would be like if One Punch Man started on the flashback to when Saitama like goes after that crab guy, right?
Yeah.
And then the series continued like mostly focusing on other stuff, like the creation of the League of Heroes and all the individual characters. I kind of like it more when a series just plops me down right in the middle of the story and then just does flashbacks as time goes on, because you don't have any ramp up time.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, like this starts when fucking Joestar is like 8 or something like that, and I'm like, man, I don't think I want to watch 8-year-old Joseph Joestar. So I don't know if I should fast forward. There's like 8 different series, and they're all complicated and convoluted. I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't seem bad. Like, I don't want the internet to, you know, literally.
Oh no, the internet is totally going to be up your ass in a second.
It's just I'm like, I don't know, because
I can hear the keyboards clacking already.
You just if you're real quiet, you can hear.
The order that you need to watch these shows in, Jeff, is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, JoJo's Bizarre Super Bizarre Adventure, JoJo's blah 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 blah. Yeah. It's like, and if you watch them in any other way, then you're a moron.
You know, so I have a counterpoint to my problems with that. Was I was watching them, and I was drinking while I was watching them. Which
that's
is,
a thing.
Yeah, that's not surprise everybody. But I was watching them, and I was drinking, and then like as I was getting drunker, I was just looking through Crunchyroll, and I was like, oh yeah, Cowboy Bebop. It's been a long time since I've watched.
Yeah, that just got put on there.
That first episode of Cowboy Bebop to me is like, it's like a work of art, man.
Yeah. It's all of Cowboy Bebop is really good.
Ripping style.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel the need to tell
Music
you.
Music is great.
That first, the little harmonica thing at the very beginning where it's a ship flying and Spike is doing his exercises and Spike and Jet and the swordfish and, you know, the Tijuana planet. Oh, it's so good. People at home, I mean, even if you're not, I'd say literally, even if you are not an anime fan, I would highly recommend if you've never.
I think practically everyone's watched Cowboy
I know
Bebop.
Practically everybody has, but if you're the sort of person who doesn't like anime, I feel like it works because I don't feel like they rely on a lot of the shonen or shojin or
Shonen Jump.
No, I mean not that. There's another kind of terminology that I'm thinking of like, you know, who's going to be the greatest and this big guy. It's so strange and different.
Yeah.
Because then I flipped onto the second one where fucking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar stole a corgi, and it's got like that. I love. There's that song in there called "Want It Back" that they play during the montage scene. And all the music in it's incredible. With was it Yoko Kanno, and then the seatbelts do the music. And it's like there's 2 or 3 just really great little songs in there. And I think that I started watching it because on Facebook I saw that it was like it's been like 10 or 15 years since the Cowboy Bebop movie came out.
Yeah.
It's such a good show.
Yeah, no, it is.
I mean, there's some that are a little bit more hit and a little bit, some that hit better and some that don't hit as well. But just, I've never seen an anime like that. And it just makes me sad. I know that there's a lot of people out there who like Samurai Champloo, but I just can't help but compare it directly to Cowboy Bebop, and I think Cowboy Bebop is superior in a lot of ways to Samurai Champloo. I also had a whole bunch of people recently telling me to check out the Mob Psycho 100.
Well, if you like One Punch Man, you would like Mob Psycho 100. It's the same guy.
Well,
it's the same style of humor.
Okay, so what I have to ask you about it is that like the only reason I've been a little bit hesitant about that is because when I look at whoever the main character is, he seems to have like the same like Saitama like very simply drawn kind of blank face, and he's super powerful, and I'm like, if this is just One Punch Man as a different character, I don't want to watch just another One Punch Man
No,
thing.
it's different.
Okay.
It is different. He does have that same demeanor,
kind of
but
not caring about anything.
No, it's not that he doesn't care. It's that there's a reason he's that way, though.
Okay.
It's a completely different reason.
Okay.
Where it's like Saitama got so fucking powerful that he just nothing's challenging. This guy, there's a very specific reason that he is emotionless in the way he is.
Okay.
It's kind of the same result with a different reason behind it.
Okay.
But it is a totally
but it's different enough. Like, I just don't want to watch if it's going to crutch.
I mean, it is going to be he's super fucking powerful and no one can beat him because of how powerful he is. But there's other ways around that.
It's
like
It's
different dynamic, different characters, different. It's very different.
So what I
like it. I like it a lot.
My end game here with this whole thing is that if I can just break through to the place where I'm watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and watch all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Beg, borrow, and steal to get Aaron back on, play that other JoJo's Bizarre Adventure game that came out, and know everything about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
They'll still bitch.
To the point...
They'll still complain.
Somebody pointed out, the bitching... the fabled bitching about that video was very lightweight, but...
As are most of the comments where you could say that people complained or people were outraged or... Yeah.
Yeah. But it would be nice. It would be nice to be able to go back.
Maybe there'll be a new JoJo's Bizarre Adventure game, and you'll be like, "Oh, I know all about this time."
Oh, let me tell you about Dio. It also doesn't.
And then whoever you do the video with will just be like, pull out a gun and shoot themselves.
Yes. You do know that like all of the characters have like weird. They're like named after like metal bands from the 80s.
Yeah.
Like I just got to the episode that introduced Robert E.O. Speedwagon. I'm just like, come on, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. There's stylistic choices, and then there's like, the fuck are you talking about? This is so weird.
Yeah, no. I've been watching a lot of mostly new stuff on Crunchyroll.
Okay,
we're on the anime talk, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, let's talk a little anime. Never bad to talk a little anime.
91 Days has actually been pretty good. It's kind of a mob, like kind of old timey mob gangster, kind of very. Godfathery or the
like
Goodfellas.
Kung Fu Hustle?
No. Like there's no kung fu or anything like that. But it's like there's actually like warring mob families and a guy out for revenge and things like that. It's a serious. It's like not like comedy anime or whatever. And then another one that I recently started watching and kind of binging on. It's already done from what I understand, but there's over like 100 episodes. It's called Space Brothers.
Okay.
Which is basically. It's a little bit ahead in the future, and there's two brothers that when they were young they saw a UFO and decided they were going to become astronauts, and one brother is already an astronaut and the other brother has a life-altering thing that makes him remember this promise and decides he's going to become an astronaut too, and it's his journey to trying to become an astronaut, like his younger brother. And it's really good. That one actually has a lot more humor to it. I really like it though.
Cool.
And then other than that, the Phoenix the Ace Attorney show. I've been watching Berserk, which has been pretty good.
See, that's the new Berserk, right?
Yeah, the new one.
Because there's like a whole other previous series or two or something.
There's a previous series, and then there's a trilogy of movies. The trilogy of movies is just a retelling of the series, of the first series.
Okay. I need somebody to tell me which one I should watch, because apparently the new one is bad. It's like a really bad animation, or
the animation is kind of terrible.
Okay.
But its story is good. The animation animation because they do this. So with the movies, because they were trying to find ways to speed up the animation process, speed up the with the movies, they did this thing where it was 2D animated. It was like traditionally animated or whatever.
Sure.
But whenever they would have a scene that had like hundreds of characters, instead of having someone draw hundreds of characters, they created these 3D models of all the characters. Like had someone like model it, like a CGI, and then cell shaded it. But the problem is that the mouth movements are real stiff. The actual character movements are real robotic.
And these are the movies.
Okay, the 3 movies.
So when people are telling me to watch Berserk, they're telling me to watch the first Berserk series.
Because it's really good animation. I've got it on DVD if you ever want to borrow it. I don't think it's on.
I might, because I'm slowly circling closer and closer.
The problem with the original series, though, is it kind of ends at a very important point in the series where you are like, this is the turn. This is the thing that gets you to go, oh, I'm in. Like, not the thing that makes you in for the whole series, but the thing that's like, oh man, this show's going to be fucking awesome. I can't wait till the next Oh, that was the last episode.
So kind of like the way that original Hellsing went right up to the place where things get really crazy.
Yeah.
And it was just like, here's an ending.
Yeah, and it was just a hard stop. And it kind of does it in a way like, expect another season. But another season never came. And so then we heard about the news about the movies, and it was like, all right, fuck yeah, we're going to get movies. We're finally. And they're like, well, the first movie's going to be a retelling of the series. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then I watched the first movie. I actually saw that at San Diego Comic-Con when I went a couple years back.
Ooh la la!
And it was only like the first half of the season, and then like there's 3. But basically, they cut the first series into 3 movies, and then kind of added some stuff that wasn't in the original series that was in the mangas, removed some stuff for time constraints, and then ended it in the exact same spot that the other series ended. And I'm like, all right, so we got 3 movies and a series that both tell the exact same fucking story. When are we going to get new stuff? And that's what the new series is telling that next part. But they went, we're going to completely do the CGI thing.
Oh, so that's the thing that people are having problems with.
Yeah, they don't like the animation because it's full CGI and it still kind of has that robotic movement. But it grows on you after a while. I really like it.
It sounds like I should just, listen, people out there, I understand that, you're trying to do, you're trying to do me a favor, right? But mangas are so long and dense for things like this that it's like, I know that, like, for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it'd probably be better you get a more complete thing to just read the manga. The only time that I've ever broken down to actually go seek out a manga was when I heard that Hellsing kept going and went crazy. Yeah. And I was like, okay, because I loved Hellsing so much.
Yeah.
Usually with the manga, it's just like, it's so, because I never know, where can I, like, there's places online where you just type in and you can go to a website that's real shady where you can read it. I don't want to go to a comic store and buy like 12 volumes of
if Berserk. You're going to do that, it's like 27.
Good. No, I'm not doing that. No, that's crazy talk. That's crazy talk.
But so that's been good. I'm trying to think of what else I watch. Mob Psycho 100.
Sure.
There's a few other things I've watched. Like I've watched God Eater, the anime for that. I know that I've heard that the new Persona, like prequel anime, is on there.
Oh, man, Persona 5 came out.
Yeah, in Japan. Yeah.
I'm pissed.
Yeah, we got to wait till February.
Wants it. Wants it, precious.
But yeah, I've been watching that's how I've been watching the Final Fantasy Brotherhood episodes. It's on Crunchyroll. So yeah, it's all been pretty good. Like
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is not brought to you by Crunchyroll.
No, we don't have a.
Nobody pays me but Amazon and Patreon.
We pay Crunchyroll to use their services.
Yes,
but we are not sponsored by them. Though we would love to be.
Well, did anything else interesting happen to you before we jump into the news? It's been a real slow week.
Yeah,
I've been watching I watched all of the 60s and the 70s, those documentaries on Netflix. Those
I finally saw the live action Jungle Book movie last night.
How was that?
That was pretty good.
I
liked it. Yeah.
I heard there's some pretty decent stuff about that. All right, well, let's just jump into the news. Usually I like to try to get at least 2 things so that when I'm writing out the description of the podcast, I could be like, thing, and thingy. But you know what? You should
say that. Thingy, and thingy.
Yes. On this week on the podcast, we're talking about thingy, and other thingy. But no, you talking about us not getting paid by Crunchyroll in any way, shape, or form is actually a pretty decent segue to our first news story.
Hey.
It's actually kind of a big one.
Yeah, it's actually been a big one this week.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody. You know how Steam? Let's talk about Steam reviews for a second.
Steam reviews.
Let's talk about Steam reviews.
Steam reviews are weird.
Steam reviews are weird because a lot of times when I see a thing and it's like mixed reviews, and I'll roll down into the Steam reviews and I'll see a whole slew of downvotes that are like frame rate is capped, or like I can't rebind my right mouse button, or blah, 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 blah. Things that a lot of times get fixed after day one that are all down. Because for those of you who haven't ever been on there, Steam's way of rating a thing is you either thumbs up or thumbs down. And then the way that what that translates to is the top, they've got a number of vote counters, and it's like overwhelmingly positive, mostly positive, mixed, mostly negative, overwhelmingly negative, I believe.
Yeah, I think there's an extremely positive
extremely
as well.
positive, extremely negative. Okay.
Yeah.
But this week, Steam has announced that basically if a developer sends you a key, your review doesn't count.
Well, it's if you get your key from anywhere other than Steam, your review doesn't count.
Okay.
So in other words, if you go to Humble Bundle and get a game through Humble Bundle, it don't count.
It don't count. Basically what they're saying is that the only reviews that are going to be counting are people who bought the game on Steam.
Yes.
Which may seem like a no-brainer, but there's been I've been kind of like orbiting around this. I haven't really dug into
I haven't dug into it either, but I've been reading about it. It's very interesting.
I know that there have been a lot of indie devs who are like, because I've actually got, I don't know if you can see this, John.
Yeah.
But this is a list. This is a Google Doc that's been being updated of games that whose scores have changed and what percentage they have kind of gone up or down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can find one that is that
like
people
well
would
known.
know. Yeah. Man, there's so many of these are just little indie games, right?
Yeah.
Which is probably, I guess, the point. Here's the one at the very top is Simple Ball Extended Edition. The old user score was 88. New user score is 14. Share of reviews loss is 86.27%.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of skims into this whole problem that I feel like Valve does a real bad job with, of like giving away keys for green light up votes and giving away keys for positive reviews and giving away keys to people to basically boost the presence of your game by giving copies away of it for free.
Yeah.
In the hopes of that kickstarting a thing where because a lot of times if you're looking at the games on Steam, all you'll see is a little thumbs up or a little thumbs down.
Yeah.
When you're hovering over them, right? So I feel like, I'm guilty of it myself, of when I'm looking through the brand new games and I see something that has mostly negative, I usually just skip it because the number of things that come out on Steam, is it really worth my time to go in there and parse out to go in and see if read all the reviews and see if the overwhelming majority are
there's also different things. I mean, just to kind of go on. I mean, we do look at that. We always look at that. I mean, even for early access, when we're doing a Super Awesome Video Game Show, we'll look at the reviews of the games and kind of see I know it's early access, but what are the early access reviews stayed? And
right.
And some people will be like, I was given a key for this, and here's a video of me talking about it, and it was awesome. I love this game. And then one down, it's like, I paid $20 for this game. Fuck this game so hard. It shouldn't even be in early access yet.
It's really difficult because the thumbs up, thumb down system, because some people have wildly different ideas of what $20 should buy you as a video game.
And even going because there's an image of it, and I know the article that you're looking at talks about it. Mighty Number 9.
Yeah.
When they removed it, Mighty Number 9's score went up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason for that is most of the people who had downvoted that game on Steam were people who backed it in Kickstarter and were pissed off at all the delays, and less about the state of the game that they received, but more about how they felt slighted because of all the delays and because the game wasn't what they felt they were promised.
Yeah, they also said Sports Friends and Citizens of Earth also got a little bit of a bump up. So yeah, I don't know. It I think that anything that Steam could try to do to mitigate this stuff would be a good thing, because at current, Steam is a mess.
Yeah.
It is a fucking mess over on Steam.
I mean, here's the thing with Valve, and as far as Steam goes, they tend to implement things, and they tend to go to like a hardcore extreme when they implement something, and then they dial it back as time goes on.
Yeah.
So, maybe they might go, oh, well, we fixed it so that any keys that come through Humble Bundle do show up, but if you get them anywhere else, no.
Well, I think that one of the issues that they said that they had was that people would get a thing through Humble Bundle and it wouldn't be as good as they thought, and so then they would go and downvote it.
Yeah, that too. I mean, that's kind of the thing is that they would buy stuff through, but yeah, and then like one guy said that like his game was getting, I can't remember who it was. I was reading a thing where one developer was saying his game was just critically hardcore panned.
Yeah,
and what they found out through looking into it is that there was a website that had somehow had stolen a bunch of keys, unbeknownst to them.
Okay.
And then created a bot that someone then went and got those keys, created a bot that claimed a bunch of different the keys on a bunch of different accounts, and then went in and downvoted the game because that person or group of people hated the developer.
Wow. So they went to the trouble to smear them with actual bots.
And then when this went live, suddenly their rating went up because they were like, well, because those keys, we actually were really like the guy was like, we were in full support of it because we don't know where those keys came from.
Right.
And they didn't come from us, and Steam says they didn't get rid of them.
Yeah.
So now that they're not being counted, it's actually like legit reviews.
Yeah.
And then you have people who are who have games that are developed on Kickstarter that are upset because now their Kickstarter backers, their most vocal backers, their most legion of fans, their voices can't be heard.
Yeah.
Because they don't count. I mean, the reviews are still there. So if you want to I want to read a positive review, well, you can still read the review. It just doesn't count in the overall rating anymore.
It's interesting. I think it's one of those things to keep an eye on. I always take that stuff with a grain of salt. The only thing I can say is that generally speaking, on Steam you can still count quantity of reviews. So if there's like 10,000 and it's overwhelmingly positive, you're probably not able to hit that with any kind of malfeasance. No amount of giving away, you would have to be giving away thousands of keys to make a difference in that. So I think it's a good move though on Valve's part.
No, I do too. I think it's a step in the right direction. I do feel like maybe they did go a little bit extreme, but then again, like I said earlier, Valve tends to go extreme and then dial back.
I honestly think that this is a good move, but I think that what Valve really needs to look at is Greenlight. They really need to get Greenlight straightened out because they've got such a weird system.
I don't even understand how Greenlight works.
I've been watching some Jimquisition where they've been talking about giving away keys in return for giving away keys to other games to people to have them upvote these games to get them through Greenlight so they can get pushed off to the main page where they come through as garbage on the main page.
Yeah.
And it's how we get a lot of crap that just funnels into Steam has to come through Greenlight first, because anybody big enough to just publish a game, they don't have to worry about the BioShock collection, or the Turing test getting going through Greenlight. But I feel like that's where a lot of the shovelware crap that comes through on Steam comes from. But I personally, I feel for indie developers who are getting hit hard with this, and I feel for Kickstarter backers. I kind of respect, though, the purity of saying, we want reviews from people who came to our service, looked at your game,
actually
bought it for $20, and then were like, I like this game, thumbs up. As opposed to, because who can tell with Kickstarter backers whether they, downvoting it because they felt like it took too long, or upvoting it because they have a financial stake in the development of the game.
Yeah.
But then that also feeds back into the whole thing about, generally speaking, reviews on the internet, the score. Never trust the score.
Yeah.
Read the thing. Listen to the thing.
Oh, I do. It's like that's the thing. It's like even when we see, this is overwhelmingly positive. Well, let's take a look at the reviews. We'll read a few of the positive reviews. And
right.
let's take a look at the negative reviews and see what they're saying.
Right.
And if they just say stuff like captive 30 frames per second, thumbs down, or stupid stuff like that, okay, that's bullshit. But if we actually see someone who really goes, here's why I don't like this game, and has that's okay, well, that makes sense. And if there's a bunch of those negative reviews, then we go, okay, well, maybe something's off here.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of things being off, last week, Bethesda came out and announced that neither Fallout 4 nor Skyrim will have mod support.
On PS4.
On the PS4. Sorry, yes. I should definitely add that.
Xbox already has it, sir.
Yep.
I'm already enjoying those mods.
PC has it as well. Yep. Apparently, Bethesda has had the mod support for those games, well, for at least for Fallout 4, ready to go, and has been negotiating with Sony. Again, this is coming from the Jimquisition, so I'm not entirely sure, but I've heard the rumor that Sony wanted Bethesda to essentially do QA on every single mod that was going to be put up.
Yes.
And Bethesda was like, no, that's insane. We would never do that. And so they, for whatever reason, they couldn't come to an agreement. And so Fallout 4 and Skyrim.
Yeah, it sucks for PS4.
It really does. It's funny because I feel like I'm starting to see Sony trip a little bit recently.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like as soon as that happened, Microsoft started coming out going, you can do it on Xbox.
Oh yeah, they were doing shit-eating tweets over from the Microsoft to the Xbox.
They're like, hey, and my reaction to that is like, hey. Sony's been doing that to them since the launch of both of these consoles. Let them have these 2 weeks. Let Microsoft have these 2 weeks, people.
Dude, I am fully in favor of Sega does what Nintendo don't, being the comeback of just like, shitting all over it.
Yeah.
Like, I want them on Twitter shit talking to each other. It makes it more fun. It makes it, but yeah, so that's a real shame.
It does suck though.
That's a real shame.
I own Fallout 4 and Xbox One, so I'm not affected. But I do feel for my PS4 brethren.
Yeah.
Because I have been playing my PS4 more recently, and I totally understand.
I don't even use the mods. Like, I don't like them. The only mod that I ever installed on, say, Skyrim was a no helmet mod, so I could wear invisible helmet, so I could wear a helmet and still see my character's face.
I don't think I really used any of the mods on PS4.
I mean, I looked at
Xbox One.
I bought Fallout 4 on a Steam sale. I bought like the whole thing and the whole season pass.
Yeah,
because I got like all of that for I think Fallout 4 and then both season passes with all the DLC came in at around $55.
Oh, nice. Okay. That's actually not bad.
That's solid. I'll do that. It might have been 60 bit.
Still good.
Still, it was less than the cost of just the base game, and I was like, okay, that's legit. So I loaded it up, and then I pulled up the mod support, and I was just like, I don't want any of this. I mean, I've looked at some videos where there's people that have reworked some of the subquests, but the problem that I have with mods, I know a lot of people a lot of times will write in and ask us about what our feelings are about mods, is that when I'm playing a game, the minute the mod does anything even remotely sideways, I'm like, nope, uninstall. The moment that like a piece of gear that a mod maker has made looks off from the way that the game gear looks, I'm just like, nope, I don't want any part of it. Of course, I would like to have some lightsabers in my Skyrim, but
I understand.
So yeah, but you know who is going to have mod support, John? You want to take a sick guess who's going to have mod support?
Someone not on the PS4?
Farming Simulator 17 on the PS4 and the Xbox One. There's nothing to talk about with this. It's just they tweeted Farming Simulator tweeted just to confirm Farming Simulator 17 mod support on both Xbox One and PS4 will be available when the game comes out. And you know what, John? I think you're the farming simulator correspondent here.
I played one game with you, John.
That makes you the farming simulator correspondent for Rage
damn
Select. Oh man! maybe we can port Skyrim into farming simulator and then do
Dovahkiin.
Right there. Yeah, that's right.
Dovahkiin
driving a tractor. Oh man. So a lot of the news that we're coming up to this week actually is kind of Fallout, because I think Jennifer and I recorded last week, like right at the beginning of TGS, and there's been a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, no, it's still going on.
Is it still going on? Okay,
yeah.
Well, so one of the things that was talked about was just the briefest of teeny tiny snippets about Death Stranding, and me.
Gotta get in there and get as much info as you can
until all 3 Dark Souls DLCs are out and we get a new game announcement from Software.
Just how much Norman Reedus, Butt, and Wang is there in this game?
I don't know if there's any Wang. We haven't had any confirmed Wang yet. Wang not confirmed. But apparently the game's going to be open world. It's going to be an action game. It's going to have online elements. It's going to have freedom. It sounds like it's going to be. Wouldn't be surprised if it was kind of like the way that Metal Gear Solid 5 is about moving around in the world, but with more, a little bit more refining. Because 5 was just like, oh Jesus, you really mean I have to drive this Jeep all the way back over to that base? Fuck, that thing's on the other side of the map. But yeah, there's also a quote here, a cryptic quote about talking about connecting players by a rope or a strand element, a death stranding. Yeah, so that made me grin a little bit. It took my mind off of my.
And they did say there will be 4K and HDR support.
Yeah, which again, I'm whatever. From there, speaking of 4K, John, I didn't point this out last week, but apparently there was some news that said that with the PlayStation Pro, you're not going to be getting a significant frame rate bump if the game. It's not going to enhance the frame rate of the games that you're playing. Is that what it was?
On multiplayer.
Now,
okay. But they also said that it's also for the single player stuff. It's dependent on the developer, because apparently the difference between the PS4 Pro and the regular PS4, you can either have higher fidelity or better frame rate. You can't have both.
So does that mean that if you have 4K, you're not going to be able to get a higher frame rate?
I don't know. They just kind of made the comment that they'll have to choose, or they could be talking about existing games.
Yeah.
That they have to choose, like if they want to support, it's one or the other, and they'll have to choose which one they want to use because apparently the console can't do both.
Okay. I have yet to be sold on this. Like
nothing about the PS4 Pro has sold me.
Nothing about it has sold me on why I would need to pick that up.
Yeah.
So far, I've been real happy with my PS4 experience, and if this really did represent a real quantum shift, I would probably have more. I would probably be more interested, but at this point, yeah. Well, it's not frame rate, but Overwatch is getting an update where actually they already should have the update by now.
For PC.
On the PC, that is taking care of one of the things that people were a little ticked off about, which was the number of ticks, the number of updates per second in the game was lower than was normally expected on multiplayer games, and they are addressing this with an update that's already out on the PC, and I think they said it's coming to consoles, a version of it's coming to consoles.
At some time in the future, yeah.
At some point. I got to say, I'm not surprised, but no, I guess maybe I am a little surprised. I think Overwatch is eating so many other games' lunch this year.
Yeah.
Like, they put it out in a time where there wasn't a lot out. Now, what I will say, I was actually bitching at Matt Frank about this earlier. Have you played Overwatch recently?
Yeah.
Okay. I played like 12 games in a row where D.Va was play of the game. It was just the exact same thing every time, was firing the blowing up the
the nerf this
right in the middle. Yeah. And then it got to the point where like by game 8, every time she was like, nerf this, I'm like, yes, please nerf it. Because it was just every time play of the game was D.Va.
I haven't seen that as much.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering what other people out there are thinking, because I mean, literally I was sitting there just like, every fucking time. And then I started playing as D.Va, and I got play of the game as D.Va, doing the exact same thing. And I was like, well, that was easy. All right, well, I tell you what, let's move out of the regular news and into what I like to call hella trailer time, bro. You ready for hella trailer time, bro?
Sure.
You don't seem excited, bro.
Don't call me bro.
You don't seem excited.
I'm not your bro, friend.
Friend? Can I call you Friendo? How about Friendo? That's the one that doesn't get bandied around. Chum?
Not your chum, buddy.
Okay. All right. Chum buddy. That sounds like a thing a fisherman would own. All right. So let's talk about the most important of all of the trailers to come out of TGS so far. Is it Infinite Warfare?
No.
Is it Final Fantasy 15?
Hell no.
Fuck your mother. It is Earth Defense Force 5. Oh my God. I have gone from not knowing what the hell Earth Defense Force was to being an ardent supporter of the EDF.
Yeah. Earth Defense Force is great.
It's so stupid. I bought it 4 times now. This trailer is glorious. It's basically just, and you know what? I'm going to be the first person to say that when I look at the screens here, It just looks like a slightly better looking version of Earth Defense Force 4.
I'm okay with that.
It looks like they're using a little bit higher textures on the ants, a little bit higher textures on the people.
More creatures on the screen.
No, I don't know. Like I played EDF the 4 on the PC with Brian Salisbury, and I saw just as many ants as we're seeing in here.
All right.
What I will say though is there's a couple of new developments. One is a bunch of things coming up from the ground, like Technodrome style, like throwing out ants. And the other one is a giant frog in power armor with a laser,
walking on 2 legs.
You literally have to see this to believe it. I can't make these things up, ladies and gentlemen. This is amazing.
Oh, what a sight to behold.
It's a giant frog. It's a giant frog walking around. There's a bunch of mechs, man. And then it's like a giant mothership with a bunch of fancy gold on the side and stuff. I don't know about you, but I'm declaring this Game of the Year 2017. I don't care what Death Stranding is like. I don't care what From Software puts out. Earth Defense Force 5 2017. Game of the Year. I'm calling it now. So
I'll remember that.
Take that, everybody else who's deciding to make a game in 2017. Step up your game, Sony and Microsoft. I don't want to see any more of this shit. Unless there's 1,000 spiders on screen at the same time, I don't give a shit about your game. Your game could die. Just kill it. Kill it off now. Don't even bother. What did you think about this trailer, John?
That was good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good.
All right.
It's a good trailer.
Next up, I know, boy, do I know that
what do you know?
People do not like that Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. They say, no, sir. No, sir, I'm not about that Call of Duty. Thumbs down.
Mr. Horse.
On YouTube. What's that?
Said, okay, Mr. Horse.
Mr. Horse? I don't know what that is.
From Ren and Stimpy?
Oh, no, I never watched Ren and
The
Stimpy.
horse where he's like,
Oh.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, never watched Ren and Stimpy. This is the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare single-player story campaign trailer.
Yeah, a lot of recognizable faces in this trailer.
Yeah, fucking Jon Snow's in there. I didn't know.
Fucking Conor McGregor too.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. All right, I think this looks badass. Like I'm looking at this, and so the story is like, oh, we left Earth, we started mining on other planets, and there was like a ESA or EDF or something was out there, and they built up a fleet, and they jumped us here on Earth, and now it's all interstellar war, and there's only like 2 ships left from the Earth, and the captain died, and your guy's the new captain, and we got to go out, and we got to take our ship, and we got to blow stuff up and do stuff, and bliggity blam blam, smashy boom boom.
Yeah. It was like shit happens.
You know what? Like, okay, let's just take a minute here, all right? I'd like to take a minute to address a few things in the audience.
Okay.
Not specifically, but anticipated responses, maybe.
All right.
Okay. I don't really have... I've said it before. Okay, I have a little bit of a desire to see Call of Duty go back to the olden days, right? But I feel like this year... Battlefield 1's got that slot covered, and it's got it covered well for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to Battlefield 1, and maybe Battlefield 1 campaign will be good this year, right?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't feel the need for that. Number 2, when this first came out, I feel like a lot of people were saying, oh, man, it's just Destiny. It's just Destiny. Call of Duty's become Destiny. I've seen Destiny. This shit doesn't look anything like Destiny. This Destiny is like, they've got all the, floating around and sky armors and hammers and like aliens and shit. There are no aliens here. There's no, your weapon appears and you're teleporting all around. This is kind of like nitty gritty space dirt shit.
Yeah.
And 3, and this is probably the reason why I don't hate this more, is this is every science fiction series that I really like.
Yeah.
Is kind of plucky humanity in the near future. Like, none of it's like Star Trek. A lot of it's more like this, where it's kind of gritty military in space, boosting around, fighting people, launching space planes, human drama. And this seems to have a lot of that. And I think it looks really good personally. Is it what I would have thought that I would have seen out of Call of Duty? No, but I'm actually more excited about this than I have been probably for the last 4 or 5 Call of Duties. I mean, Advanced Warfare, okay. But I'm not a huge fan of the Black Ops. I'm not as big a fan of the Black Ops series as a lot of other people. I like the fact that it's literally off the Earth outside of, Advanced Warfare,
Yeah.
Black Ops 3 were all on Earth. Black Ops 2 was near future on Earth. Ghost was stupid as shit, and don't even get me fucking started on that. I like this. Going to other planets. I also like the idea that, like, in this montage, the action montage they have here towards the end, that there's a part where they're just driving a Jeep, like, on another world. So I like the idea of taking your spaceship to another world and then stealing Jeeps on that world, driving them around. It looks to me like what Call of Duty does best, which is epic set pieces.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've got the opportunity here to do a lot of epic set piecing, and I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah, no, it looks good.
What do you think?
You know what? I still don't, like, I don't have a dog in this fight.
Right.
Like, I look at it and go, okay, that looks cool. I'm not
excited, I'm
not excited, but here's the thing. If you showed me this trailer and said, I have a copy of this game right now.
Yeah.
And I want you to play it.
Yeah.
I would look at you and go, okay. And I would take the game and go play it because, it doesn't look bad. It looks like an interesting story, which, hey, that's, the Modern Warfare games. That was the reason I played those, is the story. I actually am the one guy who fucking played the story.
Yo, man, I'm over here with you. I'm a Call of Duty story guy.
I don't play the online multiplayer all that much, but I will play the single player story. If this, sure, it looks fun. Look, I think it looks great. I look forward to playing it.
Yeah, me too. It's funny to see how it's still got people have just been crapping. I'm not entirely sure because I haven't taken a poll from people. I don't know exactly what the huge problem is with this. I don't know why people feel like this seems to me like the logical place that Call of Duty would go next. I mean, I don't know why people would expect them to go backwards when they haven't bothered to go backwards since Black Ops 1?
Yeah.
Was the last time that they were back in time? If they were anything beyond either right now or near
I think
future?
That's the problem. I think that they don't want
more
right
future
now.
stuff.
They don't want more future stuff. They either want right now or they want, like, history.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they want Call of Duty games. That's what they want war games to be. But at the same time, World War II's already been to
death.
To death. World War One, not as bad, but still kind of was done to death.
I think World War One's just a lot harder to make a game like this
because World War One was mainly trench warfare, which that's really hard.
Right.
And then, like, what do? Do you do Vietnam? That wasn't,
Well, there's Battlefield Vietnam, and there've been a few Vietnam games. I mean, Black Ops there was a mission at the beginning of that was in Vietnam. Actually, I think Vietnam is a thing that could give you a really interesting interpersonal story set with some of the that could be an interesting setting.
But that's the thing, though, is that, like, if you look at it like, oh, I could do all these other wars. Well, I could go to the war of the Napoleonic Wars or whatever. It's like that's too far back.
That would be.
But I don't know. Like I said, it's they want Call of Duty to be a military game that is set either present day. Maybe they'll accept it if it's a little bit in the future, but they're getting burnt out on that.
Sure.
They don't want basically the complaint I always see is this looks like Halo. They're turning Call of Duty into Halo.
I don't think it looks that much like Halo. I mean, I think it looks a little bit like Halo, but I don't think it looks that much like Halo.
Yeah, no, I know. I like I said, it looks fine though. I think it looks okay.
I think that and I guess for me maybe it's because when I look at Call of Duty, especially the single player, what I see is it's the spectacle that counts.
Yes.
Like the things that I remember out of Modern Warfare, which was my favorite game, was the mission at the first mission at the very beginning. It was Charlie Don't Surf. Was that the name of the mission where they bring in the helicopters?
Probably,
and there's the whole tanks moving forward, and then the sniper mission that you do, the flashback mission that happens in Chernobyl or wherever that was. I remember the kind of like set piece missions a lot more than I remember other parts of it. And so if it does set piece missions, that's great. Now, before we move on, I do want to say I don't want to let Activision off the hook for this horse shit of bundling the 4 remake in with Infinite Warfare. No matter how good I think Infinite Warfare looks, I think that is the dickiest of dick moves and shows a lot of kind of contempt for your audience by trying to make them buy both of these things together instead of allowing those two products to stand on their own and succeed or fail on their own merits, right?
Yeah.
Like there's obviously going to be some boost of Infinite Warfare sales from people who just really want to play Modern Warfare. So, all right, next up, We got a Kingdom Hearts 2.8 final prologue chapter trailer.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk too much about this one. We might even just spend a little.
I'm going to be honest. Kingdom Hearts lost me at Kingdom Hearts 2.
I can't tell, and this has come up a number of times on Rage Slide. I can't tell what's going on in this trailer. I can't tell. This is like Kingdom Hearts 2 HD. No, that already came out, didn't it? This is like a bunch of the other ones.
Yeah,
along with like a movie.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like I don't care. You know, like, I know there are people who are hardcore Kingdom Hearts fans.
Yeah,
and that they fucking love the franchise, they love the series, they love all the games, and that's great. I applaud them, and that's great. I lost my ability to care about the series at Kingdom Hearts 2.
I think that the thing that maybe strikes me the most about this particular trailer is that if you're not a fan of Kingdom Hearts like me, or if you don't have a lot of in-depth knowledge about Kingdom Hearts like me, this trailer. It's showing me things that I shouldn't be getting excited about.
Well, it's showing you things from, like, different games.
Yeah, and I'm just not sure why. Like, I don't know who this blue hair lady is. I don't know who she is, and I don't know why I should give a shit about her. I don't know, so it's just, I'm not sure. You know what? So let's just skip it and move on to the next one, because I don't feel like either one of us have anything to really contribute to this. On the other hand, this Final Fantasy 15 TGS trailer, which is
really good,
4 goddamn minutes long, but yeah, it's actually
probably sold. I mean, I was already sold on the game, so
yeah, I think it's gotten me kind of more interested because there's just a lot of story in here, and a lot of the other one has been kind of like, oh, it's the bro down with the bro boys, and I think especially in the wake of watching Kingsglaive and some of the characters and events here being things that I saw in Kingsglaive, I'm actually getting a lot more excited about this. It would be silly to try to explain what's going on in this trailer because there's so much like one-line intrigue and stuff. But what I can say is that it's nice to see all of these different areas. I feel like a lot of the things that we've seen from Final Fantasy 15 so far have just been the road trip.
Yeah.
We've seen a little bit of that. There was the factory demo that they did, I guess, or there've been like quick montage things. But here we're seeing them in a lot of different locations on the outskirts of Insomnia. Towards the end, there's a little montage where they show like trains and boats and
all the different ways you can travel.
The car turns into an airplane.
And I had not seen that before.
John was like, holy shit. I think it was like last year at TGS that they had a short
see
trailer.
It.
Wow.
Or if I did, I don't remember it. There was him riding a chocobo.
Yeah. There's also, it's the more that they show, the more impressed I am with like the face tag and the hair tag.
I really like it.
The environments and everything. As long as the story doesn't get stupid. The other thing is they were doing the other thing that really stood out in this trailer was that they were doing like a slight reworking of kind of the Final Fantasy theme in the background, which like kind of just pushes nostalgia buttons in me where I'm like, okay. So yeah, we'll have to see. I hope they don't fuck it up. I think
it'll be good. I think it'll be good.
I mean, I wonder because I know that Square for a long time has been trying to get Final Fantasy back to the level that it was around the Final Fantasy 7 days, and I wonder if this is the one to be able to do it.
I don't know if it's going to be the one that's going to be able to do it, but I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good.
OMG, bro, you got to play this one. OMG, bro, you got to play this one. Also, there's some summons that you see in here that look really nice.
Yeah.
Leviathan and Odin specifically. But yeah, so there's an awful lot going on here. It's been so long. I really do hope that it's worth the wait. And we only have to wait until another 3 months?
Well, it's supposed to be the end of this month.
Right, but now
and then they pushed it back.
December. Yeah.
All right. They pushed it back to November.
Was it November or December?
Yeah, I thought it was November.
Let's take a look.
I thought it was November 9th.
Is that what it is? Whatever it was. I mean, I remember last time us saying that, I appreciate the fact that they're pushing it back in order to make sure that that the day one patch is on the disc. November 29th. So split the difference between the two of us. But yeah, I mean, take a look at this trailer if you're still on the fence. I think it's kind of compelling.
Yeah, it's a good trailer.
Next up, we have a very brief Watch Dogs 2 story trailer that came out of
I still have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I like the Okay, so the one thing that kind of came out of this trailer that I didn't know before that actually has me slightly worried about Watch Dogs 2 is they have a villain here, a kind of a main bad guy character that they show interacting with the main character, and I worry that it's going to become, a personal.
Is that dude from the first game at all?
I don't know. I don't think so. But I wonder. He's got a top knot, so he's like super evil, right?
And a beard.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows people with beards can't.
Does yoga.
Yeah. I have to hope that it's not like a personal. That it's not like, oh, I've got a personal grudge with this guy. We're going to take him down. That it's not like the main character is a super hacker, because they kind of allude to that. He's like a really good hacker that then this guy tries to recruit, and that when he does, he's like, you're evil. I won't go with you. Because I really, 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 really want them to explore some more of the personal privacy, Wired World type of stuff in here, and not just make it a dude versus dude story. Not just make it a.
We'll see.
Yeah. So, still holding out hope for Watch Dogs 2.
I still want to play it. Looks good.
I tell you what, I don't have to really even hold out hope for anymore. Man, this new Resident Evil Tape 2 trailer is. They're really kind of selling me on Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the last trailer that they put out was a Heidi trailer, right? It was the girl walking around with the lantern, and then the protagonist hiding behind boxes and stuff. And like I've said before, I'm not that big into that style of gameplay of hiding, because I feel like you can't sustain it. But in this trailer, there's guns.
Yeah, there's a gun. He shoots the gun.
Yeah, and it just seems, we looked at John and I looked at the Resident Evil 7 demo because they were supposed to have updated it. Unfortunately,
and they did.
It was kind of BS. They need to put more in there than just that.
Well, and they did say that there was going to be more updates. So what I have a feeling is there's 4 months between now and then. There's probably going to be like an update each month.
Yeah.
To that demo, that'll then lead into the full game.
But yeah, I kind of like what I'm seeing here. This kind of claustrophobic, running around in this house. We got. It kind of looks like a very intimate game, kind of, because it seems like the protagonist and I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's that many different people. I kind of wonder how big the game is going to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's weird because there's a cop.
Yep.
Right there in the trailer. There's a cop at one point, which is weird because I'm wondering how, obviously, because they did say that the game takes place in a small town.
Right.
Like, you're not just confined to the one house.
Okay. Well, that seems like, I mean, I'm actually a big fan of games where if you want to set it in a smaller area, then you make the players go back and forth between places and things change as time goes on. Like, I kind of like that more than a big sprawling monolithic game where everything is, I mean, I love GTA 5 and everything, but everything is exactly the same in GTA 5 when you go there.
But what I also like is that what I kind of like about this is that one of the things that people about the old Resident Evil games is that they were very slow.
Yeah.
And by that I mean like the movement was slow, like you weren't running and gunning. And a lot of people complained about that, but I think but then also when they did add the running and gunning, that kind of removed an element from the game franchise, and people complained about that. So now we're in a first person view, which is predominantly associated with first-person shooters.
Sure.
And the pacing of first-person shooters are very fast, very run and gun, very pull out a gun and just start firing. Here, it feels slow.
Yeah.
But not slow in a cumbersome way, but slow in a you want to go slow. You don't want to just start firing your gun like crazy. You want to like take your time, aim, things like, at least as far as the trailers go, as far as what I'm seeing. And I kind of like that subversiveness there.
Yeah. No, I've been saying for years that I feel like having I think that Resident Evil should go back to the original formula where nobody drops ammo, you have very little ammo, you have to conserve it, there's more like hiding.
And I kind of feel like that's what this is.
Yeah.
The only difference is it's instead of a fixed camera in a corner of a room, it's first person.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that's the only difference between I mean, there's obviously controls difference and things like that, but just it comes off as like that's the big difference between Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 7 is where the camera is.
Sure.
And I feel like people who are just so adamant about Resident Evil not being a first-person game and not being Outlast, it's like, well, if you actually move the camera to first person in the original Resident Evil games, it's Outlast.
I think it depends on what. I think that the problem with Resident Evil fans is, or let me rephrase that. I think that one of the issues that Resident Evil has faced over the years is what is Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Is it an action game or is it a horror game? Because I got news for you. The more guns you give a character, the less it feels like an action game. Resident Evil 4 is a great game. I love it to death. But by the end of the game, when you've got a lot of guns and they're all upgraded, it's not really that scary. It's more just kind of an action game with somewhat stunted controls. The very beginning of that game is scary when the villagers are coming at you, right?
Yeah, because you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Right.
You don't have a lot of ammo. Your weapons aren't that powerful.
Sure. But when you start New Game Plus and you've got a fully upgraded machine gun and they start running at you, you're just like,
ho, 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 bitches.
Yeah. So depowering your protagonist is definitely a way to create suspense and fear.
Yeah.
I think everybody can understand that. And speaking of suspense and fear, at the end of this trailer, oh boy, the family here is having themselves a dinner of, I don't even know what they're eating.
Intestines.
Like, is it intestines? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Intestines and eyeballs and ears and...
This is just kind of some cannibal holocaust, huh? It's real. Like, this is the sort of thing that I feel would be really uncomfortable in VR because the main character has obviously been, like, restrained and this other character is trying to feed them this grotesque banquet that they're
What
having.
I actually thought was interesting is so the father at one point stabs the son in the arm.
Yeah.
And then like cuts the arm and the guy goes, "Oh man, not again."
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's almost wondering, like, are these people, like, they're zombies in the fact that they are actually dead, but are walking around moving? Like, is this like another version of the T-virus?
Yeah, it could be interesting if they're sentient zombies.
Yeah.
That's actually a thing that we haven't really, I mean, I guess that's kind of usually explored with, like vampires.
Yeah.
But it would be kind of interesting to have, it's an interesting framing device. I'm actually really looking forward to this.
Yeah, no, I am too. I am totally looking forward to it. I love the fact that in Japan it's called Biohazard 7 Resident Evil, and in America it's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Sure.
I kind of love that.
Yeah. I like the way that they managed to work a 7 into both the word Biohazard and the word Resident Evil.
Yeah, they actually got the number 7 in Biohazard making the 7 part of the Z, which I thought was pretty ingenious, and then for Resident Evil making it the Roman numeral.
EVIL,
I thought that's really fucking ingenious, whoever did that. That's great marketing.
Yep. Oh, it's so much better than the giraffe blowjob from Resident Evil 6.
It is. It really is. We could do with less giraffe blowjob.
Ever live this down, giraffe blowjob. All right. Well, oh, geez, we need to start speeding it up here. So, Last Guardian got a release date coming out.
Well, it had a release date.
It had a release date to get
and
pushed
then got
back?
pushed back.
Okay,
it got delayed.
Oh, gee,
again,
dude, this is the story of 2016. All right. You know what they say? Fuck 2016. You know what I hate about 2016? Everything getting pushed back to 2017.
This is true.
So there was a TGS trailer for Last Guardian. We're gonna
because originally it was supposed to come out in October.
To say right now, I'm not seeing anything that much different in this trailer that I haven't already seen before. There's a kid. There's a bird. There's bird dog.
I'm actually a little worried because a lot of apparently a lot of game reviewers were flown out to Japan to play The Last Guardian like this last weekend or whatever, or this past week.
Sure.
And they all kind of had the exact same comment of it's a great game. It's probably going to be a great game. You know, we're probably all going to enjoy it, but it feels like a PS2 game.
Okay.
Like it plays like a PS2 game. It feels like a PS2 game. It's just a PS2 game that happens to be on the PS4.
Okay.
Like, and they're like, that's not a bad thing, but there's some control things that have evolved over consoles that just aren't enjoyable to play anymore.
Okay.
And that are in this game. And that kind of makes me a little worried.
Makes me a little worried. It depends. See, here's the thing is that I mean, Shadow of the Colossus plays like a PS2 game.
Yeah.
It's real loose and
yeah.
It always gives what I heard once. The description of it gives priority to animation over input, right?
Yes.
Which is something that we've kind of gone in the opposite direction for. if it again, as it to me, I think that one of the biggest problems with Last Guardian is keep your hopes under control.
Yeah.
Like, I know that it's been development for a long time, but it's one of those things where if you judge the game solely on you believe that if you believe that the 10 years this has been in development or whatever, if you believe that the amount of time this has been in development equals that how
great the game is going to be.
Every additional year in development means the game is better and better and better, then you're going to be disappointed. It doesn't matter what no game could ever live up to that.
I think it'll be on the level of Shadow of Colossus and Ico. I think it'll be on that level.
Which are good games.
Yeah, they're great games.
Don't get me wrong. But I think I feel like the same is true of Final Fantasy 15. If you get to a point where you're just like, oh man, this game's been in development for a decade, it should be the greatest game of all time. You're probably just going to get disappointed. It's always better to tamp down your expectations and go in and then be delightfully surprised than it is to be like, this is going to be the greatest game of all time, because it's never the greatest game of all time. Never.
Unless it's Earth Defense Force.
Unless it's EDF 5. Yeah. That's the only time. It's funny. It's funny, John.
It's funny?
It's funny.
What's funny?
So, Ubisoft isn't putting out an Assassin's Creed game this year. Well, they aren't putting out a new Assassin's Creed game this year.
That's more like it.
But they put out this trailer for the Ezio collection.
Yes.
Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and
Revelations.
And watching it made me realize how much I miss Ezio. That, like, I had a great time with all three of those games.
Yeah.
And I kind of like to play him again.
He's a good character.
Assassin's Creed 2 looks a little rough around the edges these days. Like, they obviously have just ported it, right? There's no remastering or anything. But yeah, it made me realize how I've really disliked just about every other protagonist that's come out of Assassin's Creed since him. I could give less of a shit about Connor. What's his face in Black Flag was okay, but a little bit too generic. And then whatever the
Edian, whatever his name is.
Oh, and let's not forget Arno, the unforgettable Arno from Unity.
Oh no, I forgot him already. I didn't even remember there was an Arno until you mentioned something.
Yeah, and the fact that I
forgot Unity existed.
The brother's name from Syndicate last year.
Yeah,
Edian Falco or whatever his name is. But you know. Ezio is like he's such a classic character. Like I see him and I'm just like, oh yeah, Ezio. I love that guy. Like they had the one joke about the guy who's like, oh, here he is, Ezio de blah 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 shmimmity shmam, and I'm just like, yay, I like it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd rather see them. I'd rather go back and replay Assassin's Creed 2 than play.
Then do it.
3, 4.
Because you can.
Unity or Syndicate. Yeah. But I don't think I want to pay $60 for it. So
yeah, well, you know, you're getting 3 games and all their DLC.
Oh, here's a comparison between looks like some of the stuff out of that trailer versus the original Assassin's Creed. So I get the feeling this is mostly just the PC version.
Yeah. Well, they show the original PC version versus the Ezio collection.
Yeah. But anyway, I'll have to look at that another time. You know what? Nier Automata has a trailer. It's ridiculous, so I'm not going to talk about it.
I didn't watch it.
It's literally like, if you want to just hear briefly, you could see that like there's a screen that says loading that has a bunch of numbers on it, and then they quickly flash to very brief snippets of characters saying stuff in Japanese. I don't speak Japanese, and I don't understand the significance of the loading screen, so I don't really understand anything about this.
Maybe that was an actual loading screen.
Maybe it was. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. And then last but not least, there was an announcement. Koei Tecmo unveiled Muso Stars, which I figure this is like one of those ones that's right up your alley, John.
Is it?
Oh no, I guess not. This is basically like
it's Dynasty Warriors, but it's an All Stars versions of all of Koei Tecmo's characters.
Stuff. So they show what's his face from Ninja Gaiden, Ryu Hayabusa. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Hayabusa.
The Altair, Sophie, Toei Kenden or whatever that is. They also show, I don't recognize everybody, but I recognize there's a person from the Samurai Warriors game, person from Dynasty Warriors game, and then what's her name from Dead or Alive with the
and they said hair. This is not all the characters. These are only some of the characters. Obviously.
Oh, sure. If there's not a Lubu in this game, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
Lubu everywhere. Who else could they put in there?
I have no idea.
Tecmo Koei. God, they got a lot of people to choose from. Having just played the Attack on Titan game, I have a pretty fair amount of respect for W-Force because they do a good job making the sorts of games that they make. If you don't like the Dynasty Warriors franchise, nothing is going to make you like it about their games. But if you're into Dynasty Warriors, hey, they seem to make pretty good Dynasty Warriors games. So, I don't know. Let's take a look and see towards the end how it ends up. All right, so now it's time for bad news. John,
oh no!
You ready for bad news?
Bad news.
All right. First up, South Park has been delayed to 2017.
Yep, and they didn't even give a date. They just said Q1.
Yep, Fractured Butthole is not coming out this year. Boo! Boo!
I actually am okay with this.
Boo! Why?
Do you want to know why?
Tell me.
Because there's like 3 other games coming out on that same date on December that it was originally supposed to come out on.
Yeah.
And that's one less game I have to buy on that date. Don't get me wrong. I was going to buy both this and Dead Rising 4, unquestionably.
Sure.
Now I only have to buy Dead Rising 4.
Well, that's nice.
So,
but boo!
But I do want to play this game, and
I can't wait for this. This is one of the things I was really, really, really looking forward to. So
I do appreciate they finally came out and said, the Nautilus Rift thing is not actually a real product that they're going to release. They just did it as a joke.
Oh no, they said that before. They said they were just bringing it to like Gamescom and a few other places.
Yeah.
But yeah, boo, boo, boo. I mean, hey, on the other hand, put it out when it's ready and make it right. But just come on, man. There's so many things that have gotten pushed out of 2016.
Yep.
Such as Bloodstained.
Oh shit.
Boo, boo.
So here's what I'm gonna say on Bloodstained.
Yep.
I am willing to give it the benefit of the doubt that they needed the extra time.
Sure.
And just hope that it doesn't turn into a Mighty Number 9 situation.
I agree. I like them to have the time to do the things that they need. I feel like a lot of times I feel like with Kickstarters, we see this a lot where it's like they come out, they have a timeline, they start to finally run into the development issues, and they're just like, this is going to need to be reworked.
Oftentimes, and this is actually where I actually think a lot of the problems happen, is, they're like, okay, here's the timeline we're going to have for this game. It's a very small game. It's a very simple game. We're going to do it, and it's going to be great. And then like people just start backing it like crazy, and they're like, oh, well, now we've got like 4 times we got like twice the budget we really wanted. So
and a bunch of stretch goals that we have to now incorporate.
So let's do these stretch goals. Oh, we'll add this, and they don't really factor those into the timeline.
Right.
Or if they do, they don't they half-ass factor them and just kind of like add we'll add an extra month for that.
Yeah.
And then they don't realize that, well, maybe it's going to take a little bit more to implement all those. And so that's like, okay. But at the same time, having said that, I don't feel like they're delaying it that much.
They're delaying it to 2018.
Oh, 2018. That's right. Never mind.
Yeah. I was like, sorry. What are you talking about?
I thought it was 2017.
It's not even 2017 anymore. Yeah. It says, and it's just at least 2018 is the current update. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. If this time means that we're going to get an actual, honest to God, because I am just a sucker for Metroidvanias.
Yeah.
So if I got to wait to get Symphony of the Night 2 level of Metroidvania on my console, it's hard for me with Inafune not to, is Inafune, is it? No, Igarashi. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not to have high expectations from him.
Yeah.
And just be like, please make it right. I'll wait as long as you want and make it right. And this last one isn't so much of a delay, but more of just a boo. Neo isn't coming out until next year.
Yeah, I remember that they had said Christmas 2016, and then they did the last demo, and they're like, nope, next year.
Aww.
Early next year, though. I think it's like February.
Yeah, it is.
February 9th.
Meh.
Yeah.
But still, I'm sticking out my bottom lips just so you guys can't.
A lot of stuff coming out in February.
You can't. Yeah, they're really like this. I don't know. Maybe I just forget every year how it is. But it seems like a lot of shit has slipped out of Q4 of this year into Q1 of next year.
Well, it's like usually everything gets announced as coming out in March. March was like the new.
Like I said, I believe that's the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah, but it's like this year. This time it feels like everybody's announcing February. Like, this is coming out February 9th. For Honor is coming out February 14th. Persona 5 is coming out February 14th.
Yep.
I think there's like 2 other games that are also coming out in February that I can't think of off the top of my head. It's just like everything that's getting announced is like, February.
Wait, I wish they would push some of that shit out to the summer. Like I said it before and I'm going to say it again. I feel like Overwatch coming out in the middle of summer when there was no other like multiplayer game to compete with it has been the best decision that Blizzard could have made, because they had, since Overwatch was released, to establish a foothold as the multiplayer game that people are playing, instead of putting it out around Christmas time and competing with Battlefield and Call of Duty. And I feel like that was great. And so many of these smaller games, if there was something, if you put it out in the middle of summer when there's no competition, people can play the hell out of your game because they don't have to worry about that crunch. And instead, don't get me wrong, I can't wait for October because I'm tired of scraping the barrel looking for things to put on Rage Slay. But once October and November are over, it's like the game industry likes to release everything in October, November, or like February. Because the beginning of December is okay, but then it gets real light around Christmas.
Yeah, well, because they know that people aren't going to buy anything towards the end of December because everyone's already done their Christmas shopping.
I know, but can't they take into account people who run Let's Play channels who need things to play on their Let's Play channels?
No.
Stop trying to run a business and cater to my Let's Play channel, video game industry. God damn. And last and certainly least, did you listen to this?
No.
So in Final Fantasy X when Titus does his fake laugh, somebody took his fake laugh and basically redid the soundtrack song of Final Fantasy X using only pitch modulated his fake laugh from Final Fantasy X. And not only that, but we're hearing this right now, and it sounds like when somebody like farts into a keyboard and then plays Yankee Doodle on it.
Yeah.
But I want you to look at what the time on this video is.
3 hours long.
It's 3 hours long. I don't think I could stand it. I don't want to take the ha 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 challenge.
Well, why are you playing it?
Because you have to share the pain with me. You have to share the pain.
I don't.
Share the pain, John.
I'm not sharing shit.
It makes me feel better when you have to share the pain.
Well, then you'll have to be sad.
Oh, damn it. All right, with that, we're done with the news segment. We're only mostly over time. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do a quick review. I got something to talk about this week.
Oh, shit.
And then we're going to answer some questions, so stick around. And we're back. Are you back, John?
Yeah.
Are you back? Are you here?
I'm here.
Present? Fully present and accounted for?
We're good.
Is your body prepared? Okay. Fair enough. Hey, it's time for the second half of the podcast, and here we're going to read some questions. But before we do, I would like to talk a little bit about the Turing test that I went ahead.
You finished it.
Knocked it out yesterday, yeah. I just started it over and played through the entire thing from beginning to end. So for those of you who don't know, the Turing test is... it's almost impossible to talk about this game without referencing Portal. It's a first-person puzzle game with a kind of a rich story that involves kind of questions about the nature of humanity and what makes us who we are, and the Turing test. Basically, your character, I believe Anna is the main character's name, wakes up from cryosleep in a kind of a station around one of the moons of Jupiter, Europa.
Okay.
The rest of the crew, like her job was to go into suspended animation, while the rest of the crew went down to a facility that was built by robots before they came there for research purposes, and the entire contact with the entire crew has been lost. So the artificial intelligence on the ship, Tom, wakes you up, and you basically go down to Europa. When you come in, you find that the base it's a modular base, and that the base has been reconfigured into a series of Turing tests, or basically puzzle rooms. Now, the main way that you interact with these is you have a gun that basically can take in the wall. You'll have, so the rooms all have different like doors that open and close, and like platforms that move left and right, and yada yada. And you have a gun that can basically take these little power orbs from one door, and then you can shoot them into the power sections of another door to open those up. So you have a lot of kind of like environmental pulling power from here and putting power over there.
Okay.
But real smartly with this little gun, so you just aim and shoot. And you can also pick up individual bricks to power doors. You know, if you have any questions about what the gameplay is like, go watch Amanda and I play it last week or the week before. And you should get a pretty decent idea of what's going on. Now, it's as far as the game itself goes, it was pretty solid. Took me about 4.5, 5 hours, and I did most of the optional content in the game. I need to see, I can't remember how much the game is, but I think it's somewhere around the $20 range. It's all Unreal Engine 4, and it looks really, really good. My PC had a little bit of trouble with a few places, but that's not a big... My PC is bad at the Unreal Engine 4. So, yeah, it's $20 to buy on Steam. And I think it's worth it if you're looking for something like that. Like, there hasn't been a new thing kind of like Portal or Talos Principle or that kind of like character/story-driven first-person puzzle game. There are a few puzzles that I got a little stuck on that required a little bit of thinking outside the box, but as a person who's played quite a few of these types of, or you know, Portal 1, Portal 2, if you're jamming through Portal, if you're the sort of person who's not having a hell of a time trying to figure out Portal, I feel like this is the sort of thing that you'll probably be, it'll probably will take you, 4 or 5 hours.
I mean, it looks interesting, and I know it's on Xbox.
It's on the Xbox One as well. Yeah, I played the PC version. It's real pretty. It does. There are a few complaints that I have with it. One of the biggest complaints that I have is that throughout the game you will find these audio logs that kind of tell the story of the game, but the subtitles for the game don't include the subtitles for audio logs.
Oh.
And some of them, in an effort for them to be real artsy-fartsy, like, oh, this is a bad recording, I couldn't understand what was being said. Like, I literally just could not understand what the game was telling me. There's also a few, like, real brief... it's very samey in a lot of ways, and there were a few times where I got turned around backwards and I couldn't figure out how to get forward. It also doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of replay value like Portal. It's got a couple different endings. It's got a little bit of optional side content that are hidden behind even more diabolical than usual puzzles. And some of the puzzles I actually didn't really figure out so much as just kind of brute forced.
Okay.
There were a few where there was one that was an optional puzzle that had a whole bunch of doors that only opened if you put the orbs into like certain sequences on them, and there was a certain point where I just gave up trying to figure out what they wanted me to do, and just started putting them in patterns until the door opened, and then it would finally open, and I'd be like, okay, well, there you go, that's that.
Okay.
But about, I'd say about 2/3 of the way through the game, they do a little bit of a twist that opens up some new gameplay elements, which is really interesting. And yeah, I felt like it was worth my time. I like a good short and sweet game. In fact, when I finished it, I went back and replayed a Portal, which took me about 90 minutes from start to finish, because, once you've done the puzzles in Portal, especially Portal 1, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Once you've gone through Portal 2 and all that goo shit, Portal 1 is like, come
easy.
on.
That's child's play.
Yeah. And it's funny because I didn't remember that Portal 1 isn't quite as snappy as Portal 2.
No, it's not.
GLaDOS spends a long time just kind of like inserting the occasional sly side comment. It also doesn't it holds up fairly well graphically, but not great.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Portal now, not Turing Test. So, but yeah, Turing Test. I feel like it's worth looking at if you got an extra $20 to spend and you're into that kind of game and you feel like 4 hours is enough to get out of your $20. Hey, I had a good time, and you probably will too.
Okay, cool.
So, mail@rageselect.com is the email address to send your questions into. And our first question this week comes in from VJ, who says, hello, sexy selectors of rage. VJ here. I just crossed a milestone in my postgraduate studies and decided to do nothing but play video games, watch Netflix, and YouTube for the next 2 weeks. On one of my YouTube adventures, I somehow ended up binging on BuzzFeed videos. Ugh. They seemed harmless at first, but the more I watched, the more irritated I became with the repetitive jokes. Right now, I'm absolutely appalled at the "it's like X and Y had a baby" joke format, to the point where I want to punch someone when I hear it. These motherfuckers should come up with some more creative shit than this feels like two completely unrelated things fornicating and having an offspring. Ha ha! So my question is, which popular culture trope do you wish would go away, either due to overuse or simply because it rubs you the wrong way? Thanks for answering my question. Stay sexy and rage on, VJ. What do you think, John? Got anything in pop culture right now that tends to make your skin crawl a little bit?
No, not really.
Yeah?
Can't think of anything.
I really hate You Won't Believe What Happens Next. I feel like that's gone away a little bit.
Oh, the man walks into a bar, you won't believe what happens next.
Right, or
clickbait articles.
Yeah. All those clickbait things because they're not doing their job anymore. None of us are clicking on it. Like
you may not, I may not, but someone's clicking on it.
One simple trick to scientists. Yeah, everything that's at the bottom of an internet article that's like 4 celebrities you won't believe what they look like now, and it's like, yeah, I would, because I clicked on 3 of those articles and I realized that they're always the exact same thing. Like there was one time where the thumbnail to one of those articles was a picture of Rashida Jones from Parks and Recreation, but she was real fat her head was real, she had a lot of weight on her. And so I clicked through to this article and it didn't have any of this in it. It was just something completely different. And then I stumbled upon one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, which is the DeviantArt scene of people who take celebrity women mostly and make them real fat.
Yeah.
They just fatten them up in Photoshop.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's a sexual thing. I don't know if it's like a power thing. I don't know what it is. But it was just like, okay, so that picture of Rashida Jones looking all fat, that was from one of these things. And that led me down a real weird rabbit hole of looking at Photoshop fat celebrities. And I'm just like, I don't understand. Why? Why is that?
I don't know why you do the things that you do, Jeff.
Neither do I. I don't know. I'm barely cognizant of the reasons myself. There was actually for a while there was one trope or one meme that was going around that was the pick a topic and then it's like what society thinks I do, what my parents think I do, what my girlfriend thinks I do,
what I think I do,
what I actually do. God, I hated that. It was like the laziest meme in existence. Like you have to do shit for that.
Yeah.
Are there any of those prepackaged memes that you think are too overrated?
No, I don't have an issue with any of those.
You have anything?
No.
Don, you're so unflappable.
Hey, I got more things to worry about.
Oh man,
I got actual issues to worry about in my life.
Don't watch BuzzFeed. Oh no, I got one. You know what really honks me off, and I have no good reason for it to honk me off. A few people that I know on Facebook, and I'm really not on Facebook as much as I used to, but a few people that I know on Facebook subscribe to that channel Tasty, where it's like it's just people making some kind of food concoction, which is like a real quick video that's all well shot and like real dynamically shot of like, here's how to make a cheeseburger wrapped in another double cheeseburger lasagna, right?
Yeah.
I fucking hate those because all that's ever on there is like candy or 6 different meats woven together. Like I thought about making one that was just like, I thought about professionally trying to put one together that was just how to make a fucking salad. Eat a salad for once in your life because it's like, here.
Hey, fuck you. I hate salads.
Yeah, but I'm like, I just can only imagine. I worry for Matt Frank, John. I worry for him.
Why?
Because he's one of those naturally skinny people, but he eats like garbage. So I'm like, you're going to have a fucking heart attack because you're always eating jelly beans and candy bars and beef and cheese. Like, at least me.
What's wrong with that? That's what I eat.
Well, yeah, I know, but I don't know. I'm 30. I'm way over 30 now, so I guess I'm trying to take it a little bit more seriously. But yeah, those things always piss me off because it's never anything that I actually want to eat. It's always some kind of crazy horse shit. That like, no, I don't want to do that. That's fucking horrible.
Right.
That's horrible. But yeah, other than that, I can only say that I don't really go to Facebook much anymore.
Yeah,
I mean,
in all honesty, I at this point in my life, I don't even know what is a pop culture trope anymore.
Yeah,
my finger is so far from the pulse of the community. I just,
I did a few people shared a video that kind of made the rounds a few weeks ago about the what do they call it? The millennial yell.
Oh God, that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of irritates me when I hear it in music because now
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I
mean, the fucking thing's been around forever. It's not even a new thing.
Well, yeah. There's also, you can go back and look at other videos.
If you actually look at the video, it actually then goes, by the way, this is nothing new.
Right.
Here's where it's been done throughout all of history, going back to Beethoven.
Right. Well, I think that there's other variants of it that they talk about. And there's also, I've seen videos before talking about chord structures that are used just all the fucking time, so it's not a new thing. But yeah. All right. This next one comes in from Drew. Drew says, Dear Jeff and John, recently my son asked about video games from my childhood. I regaled him with tales of the NES, the Genesis, and finally the Sega CD. My favorite game, I told him, was Double Switch, a full-motion video game with Corey Haim. You had to switch around security cams to trap people who were breaking into the hotel, threatening the guests. But my favorite feature was that while you were trapping on one screen, you could be missing characters acting out plot points in another room. You had to either be really fast or play multiple times to get the whole story. Sorry for the long lead up, but here's my question. Are there modern video games where you can miss plot points by paying attention to a different area of the game? Closest I can think of is recorded logs like in BioShock Infinite. Thanks for the amazing shows, Drew.
I remember that game.
Do you?
Yeah.
I thought he was talking about Night Trap. I was
it's the same thing. It's the same thing as Night Trap, except you actually get to see the person that's controlling everything, which is played by Corey Haim. In the thing, but yeah, it's essentially Night Trap.
Wasn't there like a Kickstarter a while back?
They failed.
Oh, the HD version of Night Trap?
Yeah, it failed.
Oh, but it's just a transfer.
Yeah, it was also possibly a scam as well. Like it actually kind of it failed because there was some sketchy stuff going on.
Okay.
And then they were like, well, we'll figure it out some way or another, and it just
failed.
It was the whole thing was sketchy.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean there are games that do that somewhat. I'm trying to think of some. There are some that where if you're not paying attention, like you can totally miss out on like aspects of the story. There's like a ton.
Yeah.
And not just like audio logs kind of thing, but like actual like things that are going on. Like you know what we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Dead Rising.
Uh-huh.
Like there are actual way you have to play that game multiple times because if you're not doing things, you can miss entire story beats.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this question was ready-made for my answer, which is Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I still haven't seen, hell, you and I have gotten farther into the Sigmire quest in our current playthrough of Dark Souls than I have ever even managed to even come close to. Or when we were playing Bloodborne, like, looking at all of the different little something. Hell, there's a bunch of shit in Bloodborne that I've never even seen before.
I do want to state, for anyone who's wondering, like, when did John and Jeff playing through Dark Souls, like, Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not subscribed, subscribe to Patreon.
No, so you remember in Bloodborne the nun that you rescue?
Yeah.
So we had the whole thing, and I actually went and Vatividya did a video on this where he showed some of these other things. So, okay, you know the people that you bring back to the church, right?
Yeah.
If you ask the old lady in the church for sedatives a bunch of times, eventually she'll run out of them, and then she'll leave the church to try to find more, and you find her like out in the graveyard sprawled out dead. Which is, I never asked that old lady for a lot of sedatives because I don't use them as much. And then the nun, if you like look at some of there's so much like sideways storytelling with her, where if you take the blood from Adela, or is that who that was? The prostitute?
Yeah.
There's all these indications that she is a vile blood.
Yeah.
And that the nun, if you use her blood enough times, will eventually attack you with no weapons, and you're forced to just kill her and she's gone crazy. She's like, you know, your blood is tainted. You're not the one, blah, 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 blah. And then you just boom. So there's all kinds of stuff in the Souls and Bloodborne games that is eminently missable if you don't look at it the first time. Oh, hell. Let's talk about any game that Bethesda's ever put out.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you right now, there's a bunch of side quests in Skyrim that I've never done because there are just so goddamn many of them. And, you know, it was probably 4 years after the game came out when I was playing it, when I finally did the Dark Brotherhood quests in Skyrim, because I was just like, you know, whatever. I got other stuff to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like there's other games that you could totally miss optional content. I'm trying to think if any of like the Rockstar games do a pretty good job of pointing out content to you so that you can't actually miss them. I'm trying to think of games that have like secret side missions that you have to find that you don't normally run across in the course of your normal gaming, but having a hard time kind of coming up with anything there. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff out there, I feel like. Souls is probably one of the biggest ones because it's one of the only games that doesn't give a shit if you miss content. It just doesn't care. They hide that fucking DLC in that first one. Let's see. Our next question comes in from Joseph, And Joseph says, hello, Masters of Rage, and a second Master of Rage, I guess that's me, and a second hello to you, sexy co-host.
You're welcome.
First of all, I want to thank you for being the man who brought Dark Souls into my life. While I've yet to beat the first one, I am thoroughly enjoying your current Patreon playthrough. Let's see. There, we got it covered. I beat Scholar the First Sin, not the DLC yet. I'm slowly working my way through New Game Plus 3 on Dark Souls 3. If I make my way to Austin, I will owe you any beers for introducing me to this franchise. I have 2 questions for you. If you were hired to work on Bloodborne 2, and your only task was to create new and original trick weapons, what would you make? I would personally love to have a pair of Tonitrus-esque brass knuckles that would loudly exclaim "ding dong" every first strike. Second, totally unrelated question. Going off a question you had with Mayhem's Muse in episode 167, where you were talking about not liking the current DC cinematic universe. If you were given the reins to the franchise as is, retaining all current actors and storylines, where would you take it, and how would you do it differently? I've always respected your views on the current state of the DCCU and cannot disagree with most points, but I still have a good time watching the movies regardless. Thanks for all the great content, and may the gods of Ding and Dong forever hold you in their favor. Loyal patron Joseph. So, any trick weapons, John, that you can think of? What about like a folding chair, and then when you unfold it, you can sit in it?
That's just a folding chair, Jeff.
Yeah, and then you can fold it back up and hit an enemy with it. I don't know. I felt like there were probably some other weapon types. Like they never had a lot of good.
I got it.
Oh, you got it?
I got it.
Go for it. Lay it on me, bro.
You know how they have the standard weapon, the switchblade thing, whatever the fuck it's called.
The saw cleaver.
The saw cleaver.
Yeah.
Instead of basically a blade, it's like a fork, like a Triton.
Okay.
That's it.
And that's it.
That's it.
It doesn't transform.
No, well, I mean, it can. Like it flips down to be like just like a.
When
brass
it's closed,
knucks.
what is it? It's just
it's like brass knucks or something. I don't know, like oversized brass knucks.
Okay. And then you unfold it into a giant trident.
Yes.
I was actually just thinking that polearm weapons would be really cool because there aren't that many.
Or a polearm weapon that's a spear, and then like it transforms into a trident, like just like 2 other spears come off the side of it.
Oh yeah, like a spear with multiple spears. Really like a spear that it like comes in half, and then it becomes like a giant X that you could just spin around and like yeah.
Or a staff that becomes nunchucks. I don't know.
Well, the sky's the limit. We're not judging your answers here. I was actually just thinking it would be really cool if you had a weapon that was like maybe like a set of kukris or like daggers or something, and when you transform them, you could transform them into something like a chakram, something where you throw it, and then when you throw it, you don't have it. Like it's a single-use ranged attacking weapon rather than using your range as a stunning attack.
Okay, it's a pair of knives.
Okay.
Pair of knives.
Okay.
That then to transform, they combine together to become a boomerang.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
And you throw it, and it comes back to you.
Yeah. And then your fingers get chopped off because you're not wearing the glove like the little kid in Mad Max.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. I don't know. A club where a bunch of spikes come out of it. A hammer that turns into wingsuit. I don't know. Take your pick.
Wingsuit?
I don't know. You can have a wingsuit. That'd be nice, right? Turns into a parachute. You the sides pop open and then you can come down to the ground. No? You don't think so? What about a sword that turns into a different type of sword? Oh, wait, that's pretty much every weapon in Bloodborne.
I'm just saying, because for a wingsuit to be, you'd have to actually have a jump button.
Uh-huh. There is a jump button in Bloodborne.
There's a jump button in Bloodborne?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, when you're running, you click in the left stick, you jump.
Oh, okay.
Jump off all kinds of shit.
Well, I mean, like there's a
jump button in
dodge.
Dark Souls.
Yeah, okay. All right.
There's a jump button in all those games.
All right.
You've seen me jump hundreds of times. What's wrong with you?
I don't pay attention to you.
I like that. Yeah. You start playing these Souls games. I'm just like, there he goes again. He's playing these Souls games. I don't know. Well, I'll put this one to you first. What would you do? Would you do anything different? What would you do about the DC universe if you got the reins?
Well, that's what he's not asking is what would you do different. He's asking how would you, if you were to start, like you were in charge as of right now.
Sure.
You can't change anything that already happened.
Absolutely.
So the movies that have come out, they're out.
Yep.
They happened exactly the way.
Yep.
How would you change things going forward? First, I'd fire Zack Snyder.
Okay. I think he's thinking more of like story.
I'd also like get rid of David Goyer if he has any fingerprints anywhere in the franchise.
Anything that's going to be coming out soon.
Yeah, anything. Just fucking burn it with fire.
Okay. Let's talk more story specific and less administrative level.
Well, those are really the big two things. I mean, that's gonna open up the story because they're shit storytellers.
Okay, who would you then put in charge in their place as head writer and series runner?
I don't know. But you know, I as far as like what I would do differently or what I would change about the movies, in all honesty, I don't know. I'd definitely make them a little bit more hopeful, a little bit more lighter in tone, but not lighter in tone in that they're going to be, we're going to be implementing the Marvel style, or we're going to be making them, just like the old, Christopher Reeves Superman. No, Superman could be lighter in tone and be modern.
Sure.
Like it doesn't, fucking Superman is not Batman.
Sure.
He is not grimdark. Stop fucking making Superman grimdark.
I'm going to try to stay away from a lot of the normal things that I talk about. So if I was going to restructure them, what I would probably do would be to stop the Justice League movie, because what's out is out, but what's not out is not out. I would probably stop the Justice League movie and do it the way that you should have been doing it, by putting out either individual movies for each one of the people you want in Justice League, or if you really need to fast track it, movies about two people together and not one. I would put out a Batman movie, I would put out a Wonder Woman movie, put out a Batman movie, put out a Flash movie, put out a Cyborg movie. Who else is there? Aquaman movie.
Yeah.
If I had my druthers, I'd put out one of each. And as far as changing the tone, I was actually thinking when you were talking about it, I know that Joss Whedon famously worked on the Avengers and stuff, but when I think about the movie Serenity was both funny and it had an edge to it, and it had a darker edge to it. The Reavers were horrifying characters.
Yeah, but that's everyone's answer to everything, is to get Joss Whedon directed. Look, I like Joss Whedon, but fuck fanboys who just want to throw Joss Whedon at everything.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying more of the tone of that. You could also maybe point to something like Guardians of the Galaxy that has a little bit of fun, but also Guardians of the Galaxy maybe has a little bit too much fun. I don't think... Personally, I like lighter DC to differentiate it from Marvel. Marvel's already light. But the thing that DC, that I don't especially care about DC, is that it's not that it's not funny enough. It's that it's not funny at all. It's so oppressive, and I feel like it loses something when you're just in this uber serious mode the entire time. You crack a few jokes, then you can give people a chance to lighten up a little bit and then go back to it, right?
I will say, I would probably let the Justice League movie happen. I would just be like, you know what? You're already filming it. It's already, let's do it, and that's where I will fix everything after that. I mean, to me.
They're going to bring in Darkseid and bring back Superman at the end of that movie.
Well, no, Darkseid's not. I mean, Darkseid may be referenced, but he's not in the movie.
Yeah, okay.
But they're going to reference him and stuff like that, and that's fine. Bring back Superman so that I can actually then go, okay, let's fix Superman, and then go, okay, let's do, instead of, like you said, because you said something, let's do two people movies instead of let's do the Justice League movie just so we can have a spot to kind of pick up from, a clean spot, without having to worry about, well, Superman's dead, how do we bring him back?
Sure.
I don't want to have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Let's just bring him back. And let's have Superman. Let's do a fucking Grant Morrison-based story of lighter tone Superman.
Okay.
Let's do. I would probably take more influences from the comics. I would probably actually go, okay, we don't have to do exactly those stories, but let's not base it on fucking Frank Miller written shit.
Yeah.
And actually do it on more hopeful stuff, more.
Which, honestly, I feel
because that's what I feel like is missing in all of the fucking DC movies so far is hope.
What I hope, the only thing that I can hope is that you do have an opportunity to pivot off of Batman versus Superman by having both Batman and the resurrected Superman change their outlooks on life because of the horrifying events of Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
You could see Batman
Well, that's what they're trying to do.
Oh, the sacrifice of Superman has made me better. It has made me better. And then when Superman comes back, he's like, I've tried it this way, but the only way that I can do it is to be a more hopeful symbol of, yada yada, or he sees the way that people treated him after his death as a symbol of hope, and then he has something to try to live up to, as opposed to the stuff from Man of Steel and the grimdark stuff.
Again,
but
that was what Zack Snyder is trying to claim he's been trying to do all along, because
that's bullshit.
According to him, you have to completely break a character to turn them into what they've always been.
That's bullshit. That's horseshit.
Are always supposed to be.
Horseshit. It doesn't make the character. If the problem with that thinking, it doesn't have anything to do with my love for Superman or anything to do with my love with Batman. It is simply unnecessary. It is a waste of time. You don't start a movie and say our endpoint for the character is over here, so we're going to spend 2 whole long movies telling the audience that the character is this way, only to pull the rug out from under them and change them into a different character on movie number 3. That's bad storytelling. Like, that's just not what you do. Like, fucking Luke Skywalker doesn't become a serial killer after he gets his hand chopped off, because that would be ridiculous to change the character hugely. Like, and that, I feel, that's him backpedaling from the criticism, not a plan. That's a stupid plan, or if it is his plan, it's a poorly thought out plan.
People are probably going to hate this, but I did hear the rumor that like Warner Brothers was trying to get J.J. Abrams to do the next Man of Steel movie, the next Superman movie. I'm actually okay with that.
You know what I would do if I had reins the DC universe? I take Superman out of it for a while. I take him out of it for a while because he's too big and he's too. There's too much going on with Superman. It would probably be a more nuanced and interesting universe to focus on characters that are not Superman, because Superman has proven extremely difficult for people to get their heads around, extremely divisive to fans. There's probably people right now that are at their keyboards, like I stopped listening to this podcast as soon as you started talking about Superman again. I think just take Superman out. DC's got a shitload of characters. Bring Green Lantern back in, man.
Blue Beetle movie.
Blue Beetle, sure. The Creeper. I don't know. Bring Huntress into it. Plastic Man. Bring Zariel in. He belongs in your weird dark universe, right? He's a fallen angel. He's all crazy and stuff. Do some of that other stuff.
I would. The other thing I would probably also do is I would make different tiers of movies. Like, I wouldn't just make every movie's grim, dark, R-rated, or hard PG-13. As we can make them. It's like no. I would make kids movies. I would make adult movies. I would make it the wide gamut of what you can make a movie.
Sure.
And they would be appropriate to the character, not appropriate to what we want the movie to be.
Sure.
Again, it goes back to my problem with the entire Zack Snyder thing is that Zack Snyder wanted to make a Batman movie. So he got a hold of Superman and made a Batman movie.
Yeah.
Like that's all it is. He got a hold of Superman and made a Batman movie because he wanted to make a Batman movie. When he made Watchmen, he wanted to make a Batman movie. So Watchmen is the closest thing that's not Batman to a Batman movie.
Sure.
That's all it is. And that's my problem is you can't make Superman Batman because he's not Batman. You can't make Wonder Woman Batman because she's not Batman. You can't make the Flash Batman because he's not Batman.
Sure.
The closest person you can actually make to Batman, and they did it for a little bit in the series, is Green Arrow, because Green Arrow and Batman are kind of similar.
A little bit, yeah.
They're rich guys who have secret identities and become vigilantes.
Yeah.
But they are different characters. They go in different directions. And that's what makes them interesting, is that these characters are different. Not every character is grimdark. There are characters that are hopeful. There are characters that are funny. There are characters that are grimdark. There are characters that are just I would actually explore that wide gamut of
different
things that these characters can do.
Yeah.
And if one movie fails, hey, that doesn't mean it's going to fail every time.
Yeah.
And if one movie succeeds, that doesn't mean every movie has to be like that movie.
Sure. But then let's back up. Let's back up one step further and say one of the problems, at least in my mind, and after this we got to wrap this up because
that's fine.
But one of the problems that I have in my mind is that I think that Warner Brothers is a fairly inept company. They do a lot of really weird and dumb stuff in both the comics and in video games and
I agree.
in movies and all throughout. They do weird stuff. They cancel stuff they shouldn't cancel. They reboot stuff they shouldn't reboot. They greenlight things that shouldn't get greenlit. And they don't use properties that they should be using, and they do use properties that they probably shouldn't be using. And I feel like maybe the way to fix this whole thing is just take the DC universe and give it to a different company.
Well, that's never going to happen.
Well, I know. You pry it from their cold, dead hands. But that's, I guess, more is that I guess I feel like a lot of the stuff that happens in the DC universe coming down from Warner Brothers to me seems like it is motivated by the question of how do we make as much money as possible on this movie and not how do we make how do we tell a good story. And I realize that I know it's not just as simple as that, but generally speaking, if you do a good job telling a good story, then people will like it and the money will come and you won't have to worry as much about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of because there's no reason why after Man of Steel you wouldn't make a Batman movie. Why did it have to be Batman versus Superman? Why did it have to be that?
Well, because they want the crossover and they wanted it now.
Sure. And why do they want it now? Because they want to cash in on the sweet, sweet Avengers money.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that they want Batman versus Superman to happen right now because this is a story that needs to be told or that this is going to be the best story that we can tell. You're introducing a brand new Batman in the midst of a Batman versus Superman versus Doomsday versus Lex Luthor versus the introduction of the Flash, Cyborg, and Darkseid, and blah, 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 blah. The movie has way too much in it. It feels like, to me, it feels a lot like Age of Ultron, which I felt was cluttered up with too much putting together sequel stuff and not enough let's tell the best story that we can tell. That way we'll make a really good movie and people will be like, shit, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
You know, The Dark Knight didn't spend a lot of its time setting up Bane for the third one or setting up an extended universe or doing anything but telling this Batman story that Nolan wanted to tell. And I felt like it did it really well. The same way with Guardians. I felt like Guardians is one of my favorites in that it didn't feel the need to set up a lot of other parts. In fact, all my favorites of the Marvel MCU feel like they're not trying to shoehorn in other chunks. Like the Captain America Winter Soldier felt like it was not trying to set up Age of Ultron or Iron Man or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or any of those other things. Whereas Ultron, in my opinion, seemed like it had a lot of things coming at it, like they were trying to do too many things at the same time. And so that's why I feel like in Warner Brothers' case, the reason to make a Batman versus Superman movie is so that it's hyped because, oh my God, it's Batman versus Superman, so that we'll make a lot of money, not because that's the story that you need to tell right now. Because the story you need to tell in your rebooted universe is who is the Batman, what happened. And then when you go to tell Batman versus Superman, if you do want to set up all the Justice League stuff with it, you can at least remove Batman from the story because you've got a whole other movie over here telling you who Batman is. So when audiences come into Batman versus Superman, you know who Superman is and you know who Batman is, and you can spend the entire time dealing with that story as opposed to shoehorning in the Wayne's dying and all that blah, 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 blah. But then I would have probably taken out all the Darkseid stuff, taken out the dumb Flash parts, taken out all the Justice League setup. I would have had Superman and then a Batman movie, and then if you want to make Batman versus Superman, that's great. You can spend a lot more time developing Wonder Woman as a character because everybody already knows who Batman and Superman is. But anyway, whoa, that was a lot. All right, this next one comes in from KDJ, who says, Dear Sexy Jeff and Sexy John, Metal Gear?
Metal Gear.
Anyway, I keep hearing about how some people want a refund for No Man's Sky and are disappointed and blah, blah, blah. I realize that most people just accept their losses and move on. I gave up on that game after 3 planets. It wasn't the kind of game I'm into. I don't really care for sandbox games that much. We've all been burned on games, and most of us have moved on without being loud. Why do you think that some gamers are so upset about this game in particular? Also, like you, I'm done with Cracked. The history stuff is cool, but the opinion stuff seems really obnoxious. From Russia with love, KDJ.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear? Metal Gear.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No Man's Sky is because it was hyped. Like, I honestly feel like it's any game that we get that's been hyped. It's the fucking Duke Nukem Forever. It's No Man's Sky. It's Duke Nukem Forever. It's probably what's going to happen with Last Guardian and Final Fantasy 7 or not 7, 15, or even the Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Oh yeah, that thing doesn't have a. Well, yeah, go.
It's just these games have been in development for so long, and they've been pushed in our face so much. Like that, it's by the time it comes out, there's no way. So they feel it's one thing to go, this game has been highlighted and pushed in my face at every E3 for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
If not more. And they told me it was going to be the greatest game of all time.
Yeah.
and they showed me trailers and gameplay footage that made it look like the greatest game of all time.
Right.
And then when I got it,
it was not.
It was not the greatest game of all time, but it wasn't a bad game. But it was not the greatest game of all time.
Sure.
So therefore, I have been betrayed. I'm going to be very vocal about that.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to the game that has been, maybe it was featured at AE3, and it wasn't the main feature, but it was shown off and it looked really cool and people really liked it, but it wasn't really like pushed in your face all the time. Then it came out and I was like, it's not that good.
Yeah.
If people are going to be less upset about that because it wasn't hyped to be the greatest game of all time. It wasn't hyped to be and even then it wasn't hyped in their mind to be the greatest all time, because I've even seen in some situations where No Man's Sky, they never actually said this is going to be the greatest game of all time. They said this is going to be a good game. We're really excited about it. This is the technology we've made behind this game is amazing. It's going to bring in some interesting gameplay mechanics, and here's some interesting things that are going to happen. And when it came out, maybe it didn't meet all those goals, but but people were like, it wasn't the greatest game of all time. It's like, well, they never said it was the greatest game of all time, but because it was hyped for so long, and as much as it was, you assumed.
The more I look at No Man's Sky, the more, to me, the fault lies with it's like Peter Molyneux.
No, it is. Yeah.
Nobody should have been letting Sean Murray do what he was doing.
No, he should not have been saying the things that he was saying. He should not have been allowed to talk about the things that he was allowed to talk. There should have been a PR person that knows what they're doing.
Right.
That Sony, as soon as they knew they were going to have, as soon as they funded them money after that flood to help them out, and as soon as they were like, okay, we're wrapping up the exclusivity for this game, Sony should have put a PR person with them and said, okay, here's what you can and cannot say about this game.
No, don't let them talk. Don't let developers talk. Let the PR person talk.
Yeah.
Because I've looked at a few things on the internet as this has gone on, and I think that there are places where you just look at gameplay footage that they showed and then gameplay of what the final game looks like, and you go, these two things don't look very similar.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places where you showed me this, and the implication of what you showed in a video game then goes on from X to Y and then from Y to Z. And people did build that stuff up, but and this comes into a weird thing that I feel like we may be just getting into of, I think that it was somewhat incumbent on Hello Games to, if people were making incorrect assumptions online about what their game was about, to set the record straight, to not let that shit keep going.
No, instead he decided to be coy.
Right. And to not, yeah. In fact, it's especially upsetting when you get to the whole, like, people didn't get review copies, and, oh, please don't look at this before you go out and buy it. We want you to experience this.
Don't play the game before the patch.
Right. And all this different stuff where you just go, No Man's Sky is not a horrible game. It just got out of control. And in today's day and age, it's easy for a thing like that to get out of control.
Yeah.
For expectations,
especially when it turns out it's been out of control for that long.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is that I feel like, you could just look at the history. Gamers have become more vocally outraged every year about certain things. It seems like there's a touchstone, and there'll be a wave that'll happen behind certain things. The first Infinite Warfare trailer, which with the David Bowie song on it, that was like one of the most disliked things in YouTube history until the latest most disliked thing in YouTube history came around.
The female Ghostbusters trailer.
Yeah. But it was just like, you know what? Like, I don't like, that was one of those things where I feel like it started, and then as it snowballed, people, were kind of jumping on board and blah, 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 blah. There's also a factor that you should put in there, which is what you were talking about before, that, and I feel like it's coming at it from a slightly different angle, that publishers and developers have gotten really good about just stirring that hype train up to a fever level pitch where nothing could ever live up to that. And that's and I feel like the harder they do it, then the more let down people feel when they finally get their hands on it.
I also feel like they've kind of lost the ability to determine when to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to hype it right before the release of the game.
Yeah.
And then it comes out, and the hype is proportionate to when the game comes out, as opposed to hype it hardcore and then it doesn't come out for 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
And then so you have 3 years of this hype festering
Yeah.
with people. That by the time it comes out, they're so. I mean, literally before No Man's Sky was even released, people were pissed off at this game already.
Sure.
Because it wasn't out yet. I mean, they said they were delaying it like what, 2 months?
Yeah.
And people like were sending death threats.
Yep. No, from what I could tell, again, watching the Jim Sterling thing, that whole debacle started with them sending death threats to the person who reported the delay.
Yeah.
And then when Sean Murray and Hello Games came out and confirmed the delay, then the death threats moved over. And it's just like, what are you doing? But yeah, now I was talking with Matt about, because the BioShock collection came out this week. I was talking with Matt about that. I seem to remember there being like one trailer for BioShock. And then it came out and everybody was like, holy shit, this game is great. You got to play it. And all that I had was one trailer and word of mouth. It wasn't, I was looking at that Final Fantasy 15 thing, and I noticed there was a thing there was like, here's 50 minutes of Final Fantasy 15. Don't show me 50 minutes of Final Fantasy 15. Give me like 2 trailers and then put it the fuck out. And as you said, don't put out a trailer every year continuing to hype me up. And especially recently, don't put out a trailer every 2 weeks, 4 months up to the game, showing me new features and new features and new features. It's kind of, you and I have talked about this before. I've gotten trailer fatigue where I'm just like, stop showing me this game and just put it out already, because you've already got me interested in it, and nothing you could show me you're actually going to start making me less interested in the game, because it seems like you're now begging me to continue to be excited about it instead of just putting the game out.
Well, it also felt like there was a time when publishers would release a trailer at 2 instances. 1 year before the game comes out, and maybe anywhere between 2 to 6 months before the game comes out. Like those were when the big hype trailers would happen.
Yeah.
And now it seems that once there's the big hype trailer, now that's when they first start working on the game.
Oh yeah, it'll be like alpha concept stuff.
Yeah, and then once every year leading up to that game's actual release, which is like 6 years away from when the game was announced.
I tell
it's
you,
just like, and it's like, guys, temper that. Don't show us the game until your game is, for the most part, getting close to being done.
Battlefield 1 was a good example where they had the teaser for the trailer, right? But they had the trailer, the Seven Nation Army trailer.
Yeah.
And then at Gamescom, they had the Johnny Cash song with them out in the desert. And then it's like, the game comes out, next month or month after, So, and there's been plenty of footage out there from people actually playing the game, but I feel like, have only released a few different cinematic trailers that have really kept things interesting. So all right, this comes in from our boy Ruscles, who says, hello John and Jeff, hope you are well. Is there a game series that you would want to rescue from the clutches of their abusive masters and give to someone who will treat it with respect? It could be a series that has been worn out by endless sequels that added nothing to the series, or maybe even a game that is being held on to and hasn't had a game in years. I take Command & Conquer franchise from EA and give the rights back to Old Westwood, the guys working at Petroglyph who made Grey Goo and 8-Bit Armies. Keep up the great content. Ruscles! Oh, so many. There's so many, John. So many.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just start in the easiest place. Every single franchise that Konami has right now. Take them all away from Konami and give them to somebody else.
Yeah, no. Just give them to Kojima.
No. I don't want him to go to Kojima. I want somebody fresh-faced and new.
No. Like, don't have him make the games, but just make him the guy who chooses who they go to.
Okay. I don't think Kojima can make. I want to take Metal Gear off the table entirely, and let's just say that there's not going to be any more Metal Gear games from here on out.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying. You go to Kojima and go, okay, you don't have to make a Metal Gear game ever again.
Yeah.
You are going to be the sole owner of that franchise. If for some reason you decide to, you can.
Yeah.
You can even hand the franchise to somebody else if you want to, but that is only if you want to pull that trigger. Otherwise, there can never be another game again if you don't want it to be.
But lest people think that I'm being singly focused, I would also like to point out Silent Hill, and I would also like to point out Castle fucking Vania, which is a great franchise that could use another game that's not dick.
Give it back to Ikarashi?
Ikaragi? I'm sorry.
Igarashi? Yeah.
Igarashi?
I never know how to say his name.
Very, very sorry.
I know he's making Bloodstain, but I almost said Blood Stranding.
Blood Stranding! Oh,
the crossover. It's a crossover between Death Stranding and Bloodstain.
It's my Kojima Metroidvania. My brains are coming out my nose. I can't stand it. It's too much.
Yeah, no, yeah, give that to him since he wants to make an actual Castlevania game.
Yeah.
Whatever. But no,
I might take a big chunk away from, we'll have to see, but I might take some BioWare games away from them, not because they're doing a demonstrably bad job, but just because I'd like to see somebody else. BioWare seems like they've fallen into a formula rut. So like if you took Dragon Age and give it to From Software is the only thing that comes to mind, but you give it to somebody else. Give it to the team that worked on Shadow of Mordor over at Warner Brothers.
Okay.
Give them Dragon Age and let them make a kind of a grittier Dragon Age. Take Mass Effect and give that over to Hello Games. I feel like they'll do a really good job with Mass Effect. No, I'm just give that to I don't know who's made a good space game in a while. Who's made a good third-person shooter? Give that over to Cliffy B, man. Make that third-person shooter a part of Mass Effect a really good thing. No, I don't know. Just
starring Ice-T.
Yeah, there's also a bunch of games that are like deep back catalog games that I want to see more of.
It's like I'm trying. Like, there's a part of me that wants to say things like Mega Man or.
Capcom's pretty bad, man. I'm gonna take a lot of the stuff away from Capcom.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I don't want to. I kind of, I don't know. People say they want a Mega Man game.
Yeah,
I don't know if they actually do.
Yeah,
because those, like Mega Man 9 and 10 or whatever, like those were traditional 2D Mega Man games. I don't think they did that well. I thought they were well reviewed.
I think they did all right.
But I don't think sales-wise they did. That's kind of the reason why they stopped making them is because I don't think they were doing, like, the numbers that Capcom was wanting. Which, for that type of game, I think Capcom might have been a little overzealous with what they were wanting.
Yeah.
But I don't think it did, like, super well, and I don't know if there's a market for that.
I think that you end up with there's a lot of types of games where you end up with a vocal minority of people who are very much into that whatever style of game and don't want it to change versus how well it actually sells and that it needs to also grow. That you can only you can't just maintain the status quo for a franchise. You have to grow that franchise. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but I feel like DMC was starting to dip a little bit. Like Devil May Cry 4 dipped a little bit from Devil May Cry 3, and that's probably. But then again, that's Capcom too, right? And Capcom makes some weirdly boneheaded moves. Like they make some good moves too, so I don't want to shit on them too hard. But this year they've released. We went back on a previous podcast about the number of just HD remakes they've released. They just got done putting out Dead Rising, and at least unlike what was the one recently? Unlike Marvel
the Ultimate
Alliance games, at least Capcom had the smarts to give you all Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 2 off the record for $60 all in, or $20 a la carte for each game, as you like them. Or I guess that was if you bought them digitally. If you bought it at the store, they were still $20 in the store. So
but they only sold them as two separate discs. One is Dead Rising and one is Dead Rising 2. Off the record can only be purchased digitally.
Okay. See, that's all right. That kind of move I'm all right with. Like, hey man, you want to spend $20? The Turing test was $20. You want to go play old Dead Rising? You want to get an HD on your PlayStation 4? Great, go get $20. Boom. But I'm trying to think of some other. I know there's got to be some American companies out there that are holding on to franchises. I like Wing Commander back, motherfucker. Let's get Wing Commander out, and Freelancer and Starlancer. I'd like to get that stuff. I don't know. Does Roberts own the rights to that stuff?
No, I have no idea.
Digital Anvil. Get that back out. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other franchises that I really, really enjoy that are. Oh, I know. There's some shit. Oh man, it was just on the tip of my tongue. some stuff Ubisoft has. Splinter Cell. They get Splinter Cell away from Ubisoft and give it to somebody who will not make just another churned it out garbage Splinter Cell game like Blacklist kind of was. I really liked Conviction, and I wish that we could have another Splinter Cell game that was just kind of like Jack Bauer on the streets, Sam Fisher, instead of all suited up, like I'm undercover sneaking through this thing, Sam Fisher. I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's our time looking like here? I think we got time for one, maybe two more. So let me look here. What's going on? Oh, boy. Oh, wait. This is a long one that has a question for each one of the co-hosts. So, okay, let's just roll down, and if we get time for all three, we get time for all three. Daniel writes in and says, hello, Jeff and John. Most of the time I don't read books or comics based off video games. Mainly it's because I don't find the game's story translates well to text, or the story is too much like other books I read before. However, every now and then there is an exception. For example, I liked the first two Mass Effect novels written by the lead writer of Mass Effect 1 and 2 because they expanded background stories the game didn't cover that I wanted to explore. Here's my question. If you were given the opportunity to get a really good book or comic series based off a video game, what would you want to see? It can be tied to the main plot from the game series or be unconnected side stories set in the game's universe. Thanks for all the laughs and enjoyable content. Daniel.
I don't know.
Do you know how hard it is when we get these questions about what game would you like to blah, 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 for me not to just like get out my rubber Dark Souls stamp and stamp it on the answer to that question? It's hard, John.
Is it? Because really, you just say it.
Whoa, is
you
me.
just say Dark Souls.
No, I'm looking for more. I'm looking for more.
I mean,
answers.
you can have other answers, but I mean, you can say the most obvious answer is Dark Souls. But other answers,
actually, to be honest, if I had to pick, I'll just pick one from the franchise. Probably Bloodborne, because it would be interesting to see some of the internal thoughts of the protagonist as the world spirals into madness. Would be kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I was actually just thinking, because I just finished it, that it might be really interesting. It'd be probably very controversial, and probably would never see it, but it might be interesting to read a Portal novelization that was from Chell's perspective, because she never speaks through the game.
Yeah.
So if you had her have a voice in the book, that might be an interesting, like any of the silent protagonists might be interesting to have. Like a Gordon Freeman book where it's all internal monologue from Gordon Freeman, where you can kind of cast some of the things from the game in a different light. I was actually thinking just GTA 4. I'd love to read a book about fucking Nico and Roman and all of his crazy stuff. And who's the guy in GTA 4 who's is it Paulie? Who's the jacked dude?
Yeah, Paulie.
Is that Paulie?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I don't remember that game.
Yeah?
That's forever ago.
Too long! I was actually watching the trailer for it the other night because I was watching. What'll happen is I'll watch the trailer for The Old Hunters for Bloodborne because I really like it, because it's a good trailer.
It's a good trailer, yeah.
When I'm drunk. And then I will watch the original Red Dead Redemption trailer.
It's also a good trailer.
My Name is John Marsden, that one. It's such a good trailer.
Yeah, it's a really good trailer.
And then that'll lead me into watching the GTA 4 one with the... I'm sorry, I'm tapping on my desk and he thinks there's a knock at the door.
Oh.
My dog thinks there's a knock at the door. The one that has the King Ring wrap on it for GTA 4, that's a good one too. Also, the DLCs both have really good ones. Balgay Tony and Lost in the Damned. I'm sorry, I've totally veered off in a direction.
Yeah.
Anyway, books based on games, what do you think? Or comics? That'd be a good one too, comics.
I mean, it's weird because most of the ones that I would like to have, there are actually some good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like Street Fighter, I actually think there's a lot of really good Street Fighter comics out. Udon Studios is actually doing a pretty good job with those.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, it's like if I want more Street Fighter, well, I got it. If I want more Mortal Kombat, well, there already is.
Right.
There's comics. I want more Dead Rising. There's that too.
Did you watch the Crackle series? Or
I watched the first movie. I haven't seen the second movie.
Oh, I thought it was a series.
No. It's Dead Rising. No, it's 2 movies.
Oh, was it terrible?
The first one was. I mean, it was.
Did they have a lumpy, grumpy Frank West in there?
It was actually. You would know him. He was the actor. It's Andy Diggle, or not Diggle. Riggle. Rob Riggle, fucking guy from The Daily Show.
Oh, no, I don't know who you're talking about. I do know who you're talking about. Yeah, because I remember when they cast him, we looked him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's Frank West?
Yeah, he was Frank West. It was he was playing himself and not Frank West, which was a little weird. But yeah, no, he was totally, but he was in a studio, like giving an interview the entire time. Like he wasn't actually like killing zombies or anything.
Oh, okay. He's not bulbous enough to be Frank West. I've looked at a lot of pictures of Frank West over the last 3 days.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, he was all right. You know, it's got their own story with it. You know, I kind of I keep meaning to go back to watch the second movie now that it's out, but I haven't gotten around to it.
Red Dead Redemption probably make a pretty decent book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a pretty good book. Some other stories in that universe, in that world.
I say, I mean, you know, anything that has a good story, anything that's made the list as a good story would probably be a fairly interesting book. And considering how much I like stories, or I like games that have a lot of story in them, kind of goes for everything. All right, let's burn it up here. Next one comes in from Thomas, who says, "All hail the Dong Lord, to Overlord Jeff and his brilliant, sexy, magnificent, spectacular co-host who gives me all the goosebumps. Yes, you better believe it. You brought the sexy back. Work it real good, you sexy beast."
I know. This site had no sexy until I got involved.
Loyal patron from the UK here. My question, what is your favorite type of upgrade tree in a video game and why? What makes a good upgrade path? For me, it doesn't get any better than Shadow of Mordor, as each upgrade path drastically altered my playstyle of game. My second question, as my question would vary if I knew who the co-host was, but hey, I love surprises. If the co-host is, and it's worth noting that he then has a different question for each potential person.
So do I have to answer each question, or do I just have to answer the one that's
No,
for me?
We're just going to ask the one for you. But what's interesting is that he not only has you and Jennifer and Joe, who are who would be like the most likely people to be co-hosts.
Yeah.
But he even goes as far as Sarah and Aaron, folks that Sarah was never on the podcast, and Aaron, it's been a year probably since he's been even in here.
Yeah.
So for you, John, what did you make of the pay-per-view Backlash? How are you liking the brand split so far? What do you make of the new jam belt that Kevin Owens has? How good is The Miz at being a heel? Do you think he is undervalued, and will his feud with Daniel Bryan keep going on? Jeez, Thomas, so many questions. I'm going to skip to the bottom where he says, Jeff, you need to read Ready Player One. It's right up your alley. Oh, also Grant has one in there. Please, God, hope I didn't miss anyone. Peace and love. Thomas, I'm going to point out for you, Thomas, Nick fucking Hodges is on this podcast once a month. I don't see a question for Nick fucking Hodges over there.
Man.
You left out Nick Hodges, Thomas. You left out Nick. So I'll briefly answer this because I have a feeling that you have thought. He asked you like 4 different wrestling questions.
Yeah, it's almost as if I don't have a wrestling podcast anymore. Yes, I don't.
Do you not?
No, we don't do it anymore.
Why not? Just time?
I just don't have time.
Oh, shit.
I mean, I'm over here recording
all the time.
Like all the time.
All the time. Like 2 days a week.
Yeah.
So as far as upgrade trees go, my favorite type of upgrade trees are ones where the upgrade unlocks some kind of new power or thing.
Yeah.
Because you can start using it immediately and it gives you an incentive to try to get to the next thing. As much as I love the Souls series, one of the things that's frustrating about it is that it's all just percentage incremental, how hard you hit, how much stamina or health you have.
Yeah.
There's nothing where you put a point in this and suddenly you can do a double jump, right? Or you can do a triple roll or blah, 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 blah. I like games that do that because the feeling of advancement is immediate. Also, I like it because just the games that work on specific statistical enhancements, if it's like, oh, pick this upgrade, it makes your sword do 5% more damage, and it's like, bro, I'm not even going to notice 5% more damage. Like, it's just incremental.
Yeah.
To the point where in a lot of games I'll like that, or even like a Souls game, I'll save up a lot of points so that I can add 10 to a stat, right? So that I can immediately see the end result.
Okay.
John.
All right. So
Backlash.
I'm going to try to go through this very quickly.
Okay.
What did I think of the pay-per-view Backlash? I thought it was all right. I mean,
that's Backlash is a proper noun. The name of the pay-per-view was Backlash, not a backlash against pay-per-view.
No. It's just the pay-per-view's name is Backlash. I felt like it was a 3-hour episode of SmackDown, which, since it was a SmackDown-only focused pay-per-view, that makes sense.
Okay.
it was good though. Like a lot of good matches, a lot of the people that won that I wanted to win, a lot of people that I didn't want to win. Some won. It was what it was.
Okay.
It was a decent pay-per-view. How is the brand split? I think Raw's overstacked with talent. SmackDown doesn't have enough talent. Having said that, I feel like the writers on SmackDown are utilizing their talent better than the Raw writers are, because the Raw writers are having the problem of trying to fill 3 hours of time, and don't know how to feature every person that's on their roster. So every week we go by and certain people just don't, like half the roster doesn't appear on the show.
Okay.
And we have an hour of like four of the same four people on our screen every fucking week.
Okay.
Because they don't know what to do. On SmackDown, there's a smaller size roster. It's only 2 hours long. Everyone has a moment to be featured. Everyone, they're utilizing everybody. Everyone seems to have a purpose on the show. I feel like it's written better because of that. Mm-hmm. Though I wish they had a little bit more people. What do I make of the new WWE Universal title and its red belt strap? I don't like the red belt strap, but it is what it is. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's fucking title.
Okay.
How good is The Miz at being a heel, and do you think he's undervalued? I can say he's a decent heel. I like The Miz. I don't hate him. I like to hate him. Let me put it that way. Do I think he's undervaluated? No, I think he's perfectly evaluated as where he is right now.
Okay.
I don't think he should be a main eventer. I don't think he's that talented. I didn't like it when he was a main eventer when they had him headlining WrestleMania. I thought it was too soon. I feel like he's doing some really good stuff, but I also feel like while he's good at talking and good at making you hate him, at talking, he's a fucking terrible wrestler. Okay. And he needs to get better. And that's not to say that his wrestling, because the big thing with his feud with Daniel Bryan is that he's a coward as far as wrestling goes, and that he doesn't take a lot of chances. He's very straight, bare bones. He does a lot of basic moves, and he fucks a lot of them up.
Okay.
Basically, at one point, they decide, hey, we're going to give you a new finisher to kind of give you kind of a bump. We're going to give you Ric Flair's finisher. We're going to give you the figure four. That's going to become one of your regular moves. Ric Flair is going to, like, on TV say that is now your move. And for 2 whole years, he never fucking could apply the thing properly.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was painfully obvious he didn't know how to actually put the figure four on anybody. Mm-hmm. And the figure four is not even that hard of a move to do. But he has problems that he needs to work on, and I don't feel like he makes an effort to improve.
Okay.
I do feel like he improved, but doesn't make the effort. Will his feud with Daniel Bryan keep going? It'll keep going until they've realized that the only option left is to have Daniel Bryan actually and The Miz actually fight, in which they won't actually want to have that, so they'll end it right then and there.
Okay. And that is our podcast for the week. Thanks everybody for writing in. If we didn't get to your question, send it in again to mail@rageselect.com. We will be back next week. Make sure to check out all the videos and stuff, and I'm gonna need you to tell me what all that stuff you just said, man. So let's just wrap it up. No?
No.
Oh.